Hello and welcome to Real Talk episode 118. I'm here with Movies and Stuff 14 and Tyler C. Whitmore. Cam shall be joining us shortly as well. We've got quite a packed episode today. The main kind of big release this year is this week, Luca Guadagnino's Queer. Me and Tyler will be reviewing that. Also, A Real Pain came out this week. I don't think it came out in the UK. I don't think it did. It came out in the US.
It's just that time of year where like things are slowly getting released to more and more theaters because they're all like festival releases. So it's like it's finally starting to be seen by most people. But I don't know when it officially released, but it's out there.
Yeah. So I'll be touching on that because I did get a chance to watch it at London Film Festival. Cam and George will also be going over Creature Commandos, which I think is the new James Gunn animated show.
Yes, sir.
And the Skeleton Crew Star Wars show as well. A few trailers that we're going to go over, bits of movie news. Before we get into everything, I want to shout out our executive producer, as always, Stefan Johnson. Appreciate you. And also, as Tyler did mention last week, we do have a patron discount from now until the new year. Use code SANTA for 20% off your first month or year as a patron. So come try it out and explore the festivities we have on offer and the benefits and the Discord and all that good stuff. Before we go into everything, we will go over kind of what we've been watching and how everyone is as always. Tyler, we'll start with you. How has your week been and what have you been watching?
Yeah, it's been a really hectic week. Had work travel. It was kind of like the first time for my travel that like I was like leading what we were doing. So a lot of stress and anxiety and like been working really long weeks leading up to it to like prep for it. So there's a lot of long weeks leading up for it. And just I was almost so busy with work that like I didn't really have time to be nervous, which is kind of nice because my flight on Monday, so I had to lead stuff on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. My flight on Monday, if it went as scheduled, was going to get in at like 11 p.m. and then I'd have to drive an hour, so I wouldn't get to my hotel till like midnight anyways. But that got delayed, so I didn't get to my hotel till like 1:30 a.m. So I really didn't even have time to like overthink it because I was like so late. Finally got to my hotel, dropped my bags, went to bed, woke up, and like it was time. But it went really well. Led a team of like 8 people basically. So in very simple terms, what I do for work is like work with suppliers. So say a supplier makes X amount of parts and our company wants to start making 2X amount of parts with them. My team goes and makes sure like, will they be able to handle this or are they going to be overloaded and start screwing us? And we're going to need to find an alternate supplier. So that's what my team does. Tuesday did that with 2 suppliers. So that was a long day. Wednesday did it with 2 more, which is a super long day. Thursday, we were supposed to drive from eastern Pennsylvania to western Pennsylvania, which for those of you not familiar with Pennsylvania geography, basically eastern Pennsylvania, you got like Philly city metropolitan area, western Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh city metropolitan area. And then in between, you just got a bunch of mountains. So it's like 2 cities, but then you got like if you're driving from one to the other, you got to make a pretty crazy trek. And I got an email from like one of our senior leaders on Wednesday, and he's like, yo, like check the weather, like crazy blizzard coming through the mountains. Like it's not going to be safe for us to travel. So I'm like, crap. So I had to scramble last minute, talk to my boss, and she's like, yeah, it's not good. Like it would not be safe for us to be driving through that. So had to cancel that last minute, which sucked because I had to call like 8 people. It was almost, well, no, it definitely was like more work to cancel at that point and like cancel everything we had planned than to just do it. But, you know, safety first. One guy drove all the way from Louisville. He was already there. It was a 6.5 hour drive. He already drove the whole way and I had to basically call him and be like, yeah, you just got to turn right back around. Sorry, man. Like 13 hours of driving for you for nothing today. But overall it went well. Then flew back on Thursday. Been home now. And then Monday I'll be flying out to Alabama for the week. And then we'll be done with travel for the year. So hectic work, busy, but ultimately things went pretty well, but just ready to be not just like a transient state of not fully unpacking my bags. I'm always on the go, but it's been a hectic year travel. Next year will also be a hectic year travel, but at least I'll have a couple weeks off for the holiday. So I'm looking forward to that.
When are you off?
That's a good question. I was like trying to look at it. So I'm for sure taking off from like the 23rd through the 3rd. So like that's like 2 full weeks because like something the first week, like Christmas Eve, Christmas is already like holidays. Next week, like New Year's Eve, New Year's is already holidays. And I haven't really taken much PTO at all this year. But I kind of want to take off like even from like the 19th or so. I have like 2.5 weeks off, but we'll see how things land. But yeah, busy times at work. Watched a decent amount this week during my travels. So last Sunday night, I watched Nutcrackers, which is a new David Gordon Green movie. He did like the
Is that the Halloween guy?
Yeah, I mean he was more an indie director before then, but now he's just kind of been transported to.
He did a Pineapple Express. What
Slop. Yeah, he has a weird career, and he did Nutcrackers now, which is it's a Hulu original, but it's not even like a Hulu original movie. It's like a Hulu original TV movie. So I don't know. That's just like an even lower bar of distinctions. And not only is it a streaming original, it's like a streaming original TV.
That just
movie.
means it sucks more than a theatrical release.
Yeah, and this thing got no push whatsoever. I mean, it's a Ben Stiller is the lead actor who we talked about it before. He does not get work as much like these days, especially he's like always doing directing for like Severance. That's like it. So we're like I always want more Ben Stiller, and I always like him. I feel like he had like zero effort, gave like he's gone already.
Yeah, he's gone.
But Ben Stiller, he like such low effort, gave like a great performance. But the problem is like it's like him. It's a classic Christmas trope story where it's like a guy super busy with work. All of a sudden, these kids get dumped on him that he has to be like kind of like an orphan parent for while like they wait for like his brother or something to come back and take care of him. And then, of course, as the movie goes, like he falls more like in love with them. And he starts to be like an asshole, busy work guy and starts to care about the kids more. But the kids just suck in this movie. They are just they just give him nothing. It's not even a bad movie whatsoever. And there's actually some good camera work in it too. But it's just so painfully blah that there's just nothing there that I was. It sent me on a generational rewatch streak of Peak because on the flight to Baltimore the next day, rewatch Whiplash, which is actually the first time I've watched it in a hot minute. I mean, especially given how much I love Damien Chazelle, but it's the first time I watched it in 3 years actually. So, loved it. Actually, probably liked it more than I had before, and this is like my 7th or 8th watch at this point. So that's saying something. But just such a incredible movie. Watched it on the plane, great time.
What's the Chazelle ranking looking like?
Nothing's really changed. I feel like it's been set for a while now that it's La La Land, Babylon, Whiplash, First Man. But the top 3 are all 5-star. Well, I guess shout out Guy and Madeline and Park Bench, you're 5th, but top 3 are 5-star. Which Whiplash was a 4.5 for me until that rewatch was up that to 5. And then I watched Trap after that. So I went from like a very yellow movie to a very red movie. So I was bringing the color to the plane. Trap is just kind of in the rotation now, just like plane movies for me. I love watching it on the plane. The thing is for me, like plane movies, like Whiplash and Trap are perfect because like those are 2 movies that they move. Like Whiplash is very high pace. Trap is very like what's like next mission, next objective. So it's like it helps the plane ride go a lot faster, which is also why on the plane ride back then I rewatched Tenet because again these action high paced movies, which I feel like would stress some people out. For me, it's like that helps like take the time to get this flight over with because these are like 4-hour flights. So I want to get them done with.
Trap has surprisingly, and this isn't like indicative of like general audience reaction to the movie, but it released on Max, like a month or 2 ago. It has consistently been in like that top 10 list of most watched things on Max since it released on Max, which I'm very surprised.
I think Shyamalan just has that name,
Yeah, I guess people see Shyamalan, they're like, oh, the latest M. Night experience.
Yeah, after I was rewatching it too, I texted my like friend group chat. I was like, it's crazy that like one of the best movies of the year is on Max right now for you all to watch in your own leisure. And then
Dune 2 is there.
They replied, and then like one person's like, yeah, me and my fiance watched it and loved it, and then someone else was like, yeah, I hated it. I was like, exactly, that's exactly what it's gonna be. You're either gonna love it or hate it. Like it's rare for someone to be like, yeah, Trap, that's like a 3-star. Like just like I know that's the average rating, but that's because people are just either loving it or hating it. But like I said, Tenet on the ride back. Then I watched Queer yesterday in theaters. I was supposed to watch A Real Pain and review it with you guys, which I'm actually bummed about because I was really excited for it. Like I don't know why, just something about I was really in the mood for Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg yesterday. Like I really.
Wait, George, have you seen it?
A Real Pain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They both are festival watches for you.
I said on the
I didn't watch it at the film festival. I saw it like a week or 2 later. Yeah, I didn't go during the festival.
It was just me. Okay.
No, I went to a screening. Yeah.
You two will be painting it up, but no, Traffic sucks ass. I was like just the classic, like I'm gonna be at the theater 10 minutes early, and then just as it goes, the time just goes and goes and goes. Yeah. Then I got to the point where it was going to be 10 minutes late. I'm like, well, that's about because my theater like isn't AMC. AMC is usually like 25 minutes of trailers, but mine's always like a hard 10 minutes. So it's like, okay, 10 minutes. So by the time I get in there, I'll be ready to go. And then it got like 15 minutes late. I'm like, okay, maybe I can miss the first 5 minutes. And by the time I got to the theater, it was like, would have been 15 minutes of movie late. And it's like an hour and a half movie. I was like, it's just not worth it at this point. So just went to an earlier screening of Queer than I otherwise planned on doing, which Seth and I are going to be talking about. Rewatched Holdovers, which always a jolly time. Very happy Seth already watched it, and I think you already mentioned that's the Patreon review of the week this week, so we'll be talking about that on Friday. And then last night rewatched Zone of Interest, just because it's been forever. I think like 2 weeks ago it made a run of like there's been a bunch of clips of it going around on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, I want to rewatch this movie. Haven't seen it obviously since it came out in theaters, but yeah, still loved it. Can't remember what I haven't logged it yet because it was late last night and now it's early this morning. But whatever I rated it last time is probably where it's gonna stay. I think it's a 4.5. So I really loved it still. Didn't like affect me as much as it was in the theater, but kind of hard for really most movies to like affect you as much as when you're like sitting in the theater seeing it for the first time. But still, I think it's just like a fantastic piece of filmmaking. But that's my week.
Nice. George, how was your week? What did you watch?
Nothing.
Nice.
I only watched.
That's just not true. You saw 2 movies in theaters.
I mean, nothing like comparatively to like I think if you go to my Letterboxd stats, my average is like 10 movies a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled 4 this week, which is we talk about all the time.
Yeah,
four movies for like a casual film goer is a ton of movies in a week. But you know, for us, not that many. But outside of movies, week was fine. Still like same level. It'll remain the same level of busyness until the end of the year. It is just so much planning for 2025, and then also just so much wrapping up the end of this year. And they just very much overlap, which is a little annoying, but works good. Couple of movies this week, which were a ton of fun. I saw the new Sweethearts, that movie that came out on Max, that high school, or they're in college, they're freshmen in college, like teenage comedy kind of movie. It was good. It was very sweet. I think it follows a lot of just general genre tropes that just kind of make it feel a little like boring at times, but I really like the core dynamic. I really like Kiernan Shipka. I think she's really cute. I know the main actor, Nico Haraga, is in a few things that people have seen. He was in Booksmart, and then he was in some. I was talking to a friend about this. He was in some TV show that a lot of people enjoy. But Kiernan Shipka was great. Caleb Heron was also great. There were some really cute and adorable moments in this movie, but overall, just not something I'm going to rewatch. But cute one watch. Actually, I might rewatch it because I know Victoria wants to watch it, so maybe I will rewatch it eventually. Nosferatu, holy fuck, and that's all I'm going to say about the movie, because I don't want to spoil anything. They were genius, and when I say they, I mean like Robert Eggers in the production of this movie. They were genius in hiding Bill Skarsgård's version of Count Orlok. And I am praying to God from now until Christmas, no one spoils that on Twitter, because I could very easily see some jerk off snapping a picture mid-screening of Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok and spoiling for everyone on Twitter. And that's going to piss me off, because not knowing like what his iteration of this character looked like made the initial reveal so awesome, and it never let up. The entire movie, I was like, wow, like that is a sick iteration of this character. His voice sounds awesome, his design is awesome. So genuinely, I'm praying to God, if I were you guys, go to Twitter, go to mute words, and just Count Orlok, Nosferatu, Dracula, Robert Eggers, just mute everything, because I could absolutely see some jackass snapping a picture of him mid-movie and spoiling it on Twitter.
Even without that, I want to mute Robert Eggers on Twitter anyways.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Now everyone show your Nosferatu screen caps.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, that's all I'll say about Nosferatu. I'm very, very excited for you guys to watch it and for us to eventually talk about it. Sick that, Seth, you got an early screening, which means we won't have to like wait until January to review the movie. But yeah, it was. I mean, you guys see Alex on Twitter, kids losing his fucking mind over this movie. But it really was just that fucking awesome. Victoria and I went to a re-release of The Holiday. Cameron Diaz has a wine company called.
Did she show up?
She did not show up.
Oh,
No.
okay.
So we really thought she was going to, because she hosted an event like this, like a re-release of The Holiday sponsored by her wine company. She did an event like this in London, and apparently she showed up there. So I didn't think she would show up. Victoria was hoping she would show up. I think a lot of people in the theater thought she would show up because a lot of people came like dressed up like nicely. But no, it was cute though. They did a good job like setting it up. They were handing out wine from her company. They had like branded wine glasses with the company's name. Same thing with the popcorn buckets. And the movie itself is cute. I really like The Holiday as like a, now regular, Christmas time watch. I know it's one of Victoria's holiday movies. I think it's one of Victoria's favorite movies in general. If you can get past how realistic almost every aspect of this movie is, it becomes like wildly entertaining. Jude Law is really cool. Kate Winslet is just always fantastic, and her dynamic with the older gentleman is just phenomenal and just really cute to watch. Some cute moments, some fun moments that pull at your heartstrings, some funny moments. You got Jack Black, whose character is a little creepy, but it's Jack Black and he's funny. So it makes up for it. But yeah, that was cool seeing that one in theaters. And then last night, man, my life changed. Let me tell you about this. You have not experienced film in its truest form if you have not seen Interstellar on the Lincoln Square IMAX screen. Okay? That was the single greatest theater experience of my life. Okay? I went to space. All right? Holy shit. I was levitating, dude. This is like this is how a Christopher Nolan movie is meant to be experienced, just on the biggest screen possible. And Interstellar, stop. And Interstellar, that is just the IMAX movie. I don't think there is a better movie suited for the IMAX experience. And I say that with Dune 2 in existence. I do not. No, I disagree. I completely disagree. There's one scene in Oppenheimer that rivals anything in Interstellar, and it's the bomb scene. But as a whole, there's no movie from top to bottom that is better suited for the IMAX experience than Interstellar. Holy shit. The first gargantuous scene when they like first hit the black hole, it looked insane. Okay, the entire man explosion to the Cooper docking sequence, holy shit. I was crying. The movie ended and I was in such an elevated state of euphoria that I was crying. Okay, even watching back the video messages, not a dry eye in the theater, man. I look to my left, Victoria's pulling tissues out of her bag. I look to my right, my boys are tearing up. Guys, you need to come to New York next time Interstellar is released in IMAX at Lincoln Square and watch this movie, because there's it's playing tomorrow. Pull up. There's no better experience. That was the best theater experience of my life. I shit you not. Shout out my boy Rob, who got the tickets. I fell asleep when they were released, but he was on top of it and he bought tickets. Thank God. Otherwise I would have cried. But yeah, that is a like top of my bucket list thing. Not even in film, just like ever. Just things I've wanted to do.
Did you see it in like big screen when it came out?
No, I saw it in theaters when it came out once on like a standard screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing Interstellar in IMAX at Lincoln Square, that is like a top bucket list item that I could just check off. And I left that theater elated, man. I was in such an insane state of euphoria and shock. And I've seen this movie like 100 times, but seeing it, honestly, I think seeing it on that big screen has ruined my theater experience going forward, because nothing is touching that. 2024 is responsible for arguably the two best theater experiences of my life, Dune 2 and Interstellar on the Lincoln Square IMAX screen. I can't watch movies ever again. I simply cannot. They will not touch that level of enjoyment that I had in the theater. Absolutely mental, man. Insane. That was it. That was it. My week started with Nosferatu and ended with Interstellar. I don't think I'm gonna have a better week. I told Victoria respectfully that the happiest days of my life were 1, seeing Interstellar in IMAX at Lincoln Square. 2 is when I proposed to her. That is how insane of a day. All day yesterday. All day. All I could think. I got no work done at work because all I could think about was Interstellar. And then I left the theater crying.
Is it number 1 of your Nolan film yet?
Dude.
Bro, you're talking about it's like it's changed your life. You better put it up to number 1 right now. Like
my Nolan ranking will change every time I watch a different Nolan film. Like if I watched Oppenheimer or The Dark Knight tonight, it would be my number 1. But fuck it, sure. Right now, Interstellar is my number 1 Nolan. That was I promise you don't know what movies are unless you've watched Interstellar in IMAX.
I haven't even seen it
Square
in the cinemas. I've just
That's
seen it.
great. You haven't experienced film, Seth. I'm sorry.
George,
you have to yes.
Were you live tweeting during the movie just different quotes, or did you
No, that was
these
after.
tweets off right after?
I was wondering that too.
They are minutes after. Okay,
I fired a bunch of Interstellar tweets off. I posted on my Insta story. You guys, hold on. This is a picture I took of myself.
Whenever I tweet a quote, it's because I'm watching the movie and I hear it and I'm like, yeah, that's a banger. So I didn't know if you were in theater.
I'm not bad disrespectful. Here, this is you guys can see. This is a selfie I took after I watched the movie. I was just mad happy.
I'm sure that's what that was.
I was just in a good mood, man. Oh my God.
Christ.
That's my week.
Some glaze there, some glaze.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to watch it. I've never seen it in cinemas.
Guys, I don't think you understand. Cam had a kid a week ago, and that's the second best thing to happen to anyone on this podcast in that week. All right?
Great. Cameron, you had a child. How is your said child?
Second child's good, man. It's been good.
Cam, look behind me.
Look behind you?
Yeah.
I can't really see. Is it a Lego?
No, it's your child. You wouldn't above my thumb.
Oh, hell yeah.
Still there.
That's
not even taking it off. I've moved and
it's
still not been there. Yeah,
I was like, I'm trying to look at that big like poster or whatever's behind you.
Oh, no, that's Trinity from the Matrix. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
You should get his child blown up to be the bigger picture.
Yeah, I think so. Get it blown up even bigger. Man, it's been good. It's been going really well. I think the second one is like leaps and bounds easier than the first, which is awesome. And so I said I wouldn't be on for a while. And that may hold true like when I go back to work, but right now being off work, I was like itching to get out of the house kind of thing. Where it's just
how long do you get for paternity leave?
I'm taking all of December. So I get like 6 weeks spread out throughout the year, the first year, but I'm taking the first 5 right now. And then we'll use the other one at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, so off through December, which is really nice. Like just the most selfish like time to have a kid was like literally the day before Thanksgiving. So off of Thanksgiving and then off of all of Christmas, like time frame. I'll go back for New Year's because like that's not necessarily a holiday I necessarily am super pumped about. Like I'm not super amped about going out, especially after the second kid. But it's been going really well. Sutton, I love her dearly. She's awesome. And Bailey has started like potty training this week. So like things are just, man, life is hitting fast.
Yeah, another kid. Now Bailey's like, shit, I gotta grow the fuck up. I gotta be a big brother
a little bit.
Enough of this training toilet. I need to
growing out the goatee. I feel like that's like a very dad thing, if any,
I actually noticed that by the way when you came on. I forgot to mention it.
If any compliments want to be thrown into the chat, that's fine. Fine with me, no big deal. I feel like that's just a very dad thing. I was like, Emma, I'm off of work. I got to grow out the goatee and just see where it takes me, because it's really all I can grow, and it might not get any more than this, but I've never let it go past like 3 days. So
you're off work anyway.
Yeah. You're not working. Just let it go forever.
Exactly. I'm not like a huge fan. I wish I could grow facial hair. Just it's my one like life way. And I wish I wasn't balding. A lot of hair things in my life that I wish wasn't going.
At least I have one of those. Anyway.
Buzz it.
It's all right.
Let's
It's
be the
all right.
Buzz podcast. We should all buzz our heads.
Dude, if I did, I'd be bald. Yeah, okay. Seth's bald. I think
I'm
it's
actually buzzed
coming
right now.
eventually, man. It's coming
I got
eventually.
nothing
I
on the
just can't do
side.
it just yet.
Cam, I loved your TikTok. Your morning.
Dude,
in the
I
life.
think I'm a lifestyle TikTok.
Yeah, you should make more of those. I really like that.
I'm going to.
I watched that after Interstellar, and I was just continuing my happy run.
Hell yeah. Yeah, go watch my lifestyle TikToks now. We're painting our kitchen today, so a new one will probably come. Been showing Bailey a lot of Christmas movies, which has been good. We watched The Grinch, we watched The Santa Claus, we watched some others, Klaus.
Get him on Muppets Christmas Carol early, Cam. Muppets Christmas
I might
Carol.
have to. My dad was like, "You showed him It's a Wonderful Life yet?" And I'm like, "Well, he's 2. He's not
a bit heavy for a 2-year-old.
Yeah, he's not necessarily pulled into the black and white cinema just yet.
Yeah, and his dad isn't either.
Yeah, his dad isn't either.
Yeah, that's exactly. So why would I show it to him? But
where's
I'm
Die
really
Hard on that
excited.
list?
Die Hard. I'm not a Die Hard's a Christmas movie guy. Like I've never been
Yes.
that.
What about Willy Wonka?
I recognize it's set during Christmas. I'm not gonna fight anyone. I'm just
Come
not
get him on Willy Wonka. It's technically a Christmas film. That is like.
Is it really? Is that?
I think
can't
so. It's
remember Willy
winter.
Wonka.
There's
Is
like
it
cold
set
scenes.
winter? Yeah. All I remember, I can't remember Willy Wonka. Speaking of, I want to rewatch Wonka. Not as much Willy Wonka, but Wonka.
I mean, you should want to watch
on
Willy
mine.
Wonka first.
I love Willy Wonka. I just haven't. I don't watch it all the time, kind of thing. But very excited to show him The Year Without a Santa Claus. Like that's my favorite. Gonna make a whole night of it. We're gonna like set up a fort and stuff. It should be fun. It'll hold his attention for 20 minutes.
I miss it.
That was the sickest thing you've said ever. Making a fort.
Oh yeah.
Fort's
When you have a
cool,
kid,
man.
you get to start making forts again. Like
I used to love that shit.
it's kind of a leap,
good.
man. We did one a while back, and it's good stuff.
That's like the only reason I'd want a kid, so I could like build a fort with them.
Build a fort, build tunnels. Like
there's no real excuse to build a fort on my own at like 26 years old. You know,
You could just for fun.
I mean,
I wouldn't judge you.
Yeah, I would say
I might build a fort.
Make a
tonight.
lifestyle TikTok out of it. Be like,
I'm gonna make a
spend
fort.
the day with me making a fort as a 26-year-old, and just sit there playing some Fortnite in there. I don't think anyone would judge you.
True.
But yeah, it's been a really good week. I appreciate all the kind words in the pod last week. Appreciate y'all doing the fun draft. I didn't realize when I sent my list it was a like parent kid duo. I thought it was just father son. So I was really struggling to come up with some picks. But
I have a question for you, Cam. Actually,
It's not. It's not. The answer is no.
There's the answer. Jeff. I had no. This isn't related to that. So one thing I was going to ask you, I didn't write this on the rundown, but I thought because people commented about it, I thought I might as well ask you now. Can you give me, Cameron? We did a real quick without you last week, or this week. You might have seen we did last week on the worst takes on the podcast.
I haven't watched it yet, but I've
okay. Well, you were mentioned frequently, so
yeah.
It's understandable.
I think I didn't even like watch it, but I went in there and commented. Wait, is this play about us?
I saw that. I just wanted like 3 from you that comes to the top of your head. Because people commented like we should have got
the Moana take was a pull because that was like episode like 4 or 5.
That's your take.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, I
thought I want some like of us, you know,
of yours. Just the idea that George compared Luca Guadagnino. I don't even care if he said he doesn't like Luca. That's fine. Comparing them to the Russo brothers is hilarious.
Was drafted.
Yeah, all time right there.
Fine, make better movies. I wouldn't say shit like that.
Not being a fan of animation will always hold weight for me. I'll hold space for that one. I'm trying to think of a Seth take. You're a Star Wars defender now. I can't think of a bad Seth take. Seth might be based, man.
He's got Spider-Man 3 over across the Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, that's dumb for sure.
I have Across Spider-Verse over Spider-Man 3.
Who's got it? Spider-Man 3? Is that Tyler?
Oh, is that Tyler?
I have it rated the same though. I have it rated.
I mean, that's
just
as bad.
That goes back to the animation one. Just Spider-Man 3 being like a really good movie is not my favorite take that's ever been thrown out on this pod. I'm sure there are a million.
Yeah.
I've definitely had the bulk of them, and I'm okay with that. I come here to to spew
Entertaining.
nonsense every once in a while. Speaking of, I watched the nonsense Sabrina Carpenter like Christmas.
Yeah, I saw that.
Barry Kogan's an idiot, man. That dude's dumb, but she makes some banging music. That girl can sing. But that's my week. Shout out Emma. Shout out Sutton. Shout out my parents for watching Bailey right now. Gets us.
Who's got the baby right now?
Pod. Emma has the baby right now. Can't really leave Emma's side for the first however many weeks or months, whatever you want to like. If you go straight to formula, yeah, that's fine. But we did not, so can't really leave Emma.
Is Sutton a common name, Cam?
No, so not maybe, I don't know. But we got married in Sutton's Bay. And so we named her Sutton.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's
not Broncos fans.
Not Broncos fan, not Cortland Sutton fans.
Champ Bailey.
Yeah, and then her middle name Isabel is after our first dog, Izzy.
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 Pamela.
Yeah, so there you go. There's Sutton's name, and Walsh is just my last name. That's
Great.
But it's been a really good week. I'm very happy to be back on the pod. I was feeling mega like emotional and overwhelmed this week just with all the like Spotify rap stuff and the kind words said, and so I was like, man, I gotta get back on the pod because
shout out. I forgot to mention that. Actually, good point.
Really,
shout out everyone who shared us. We really appreciate it.
Every year it surprises me how many like people's top podcast we
just
are.
gets more and more every year. It's really nice.
Like, that's crazy. That's insane that people listen to us.
Mm-hmm. It's
everywhere.
You do
for a couple weeks this year, which like some people chart all the time. I don't think we did in 2023, but we did in 2024, and that's just like a very cool like step, to just like be known and yeah, it's awesome. And
we didn't even notice when we charted.
We noticed
I wish
the UK one. We got into the UK one a couple of times, but it was the US one I think that we did like once because the US one there's so many film podcasts.
Because it was in March when we charted, which I'm assuming was probably our Dune episode.
It was the Dune one. Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah!
But no, it's always crazy this time of year because like you just like forget. It's nice to have a yearly reminder. You just kind of forget after a while. Like people actually listen to us and like care. And then I enjoyed like on Twitter, like people shout at people because I was like, sometimes I feel like we just like rush through this intro section. Because like, oh, it's just like. Week was fine, whatever. Let's get on to the podcast. But then like people on Twitter were like, no, like one guy said he went back and like he's like listened to like all of our just like intros because he's like he feels like that's the most connected to all of us they feel when we're just like shooting shit about our week. So good to know we won't just like treat this as like a throwaway, like, oh, let's quick little intro, let's get into our reviews. Like I enjoy catching up with you guys, obviously, and I'm glad to hear the listeners do as well.
To be fair, we do yap. It's already been 33 minutes.
Right.
Man,
but I mean, in the past, there's definitely been times throughout the year where it's like we try and get it done like super fast.
Well, I think our issue at the start was we used to concentrate so much on news that no one cared about. You know what I mean? Like just these tiny pieces of news where people just like care. Like that shit,
can we keep yapping? Because I have a question. What is Marvel Rivals?
Oh, okay, George. Here we go. Right. Well,
it's a headache, man.
Is it
like Super Smash Bros. Just with Marvel characters?
No. Do you know a game called Overwatch, George?
No.
So it's like a player versus player where you play as individual like Marvel characters, right? The art style and designs, like Cam, you'll probably attest to this, are cool. Like there's a bunch of guys that look really good. There's like Venom, Spider-Man, every Marvel character.
There's 33 characters, and it's not just the big ones. There's like a squirrel girl. There's like a shark boy.
The shark,
They try to get a bunch. Like Moon Knight's very popular in it, so they're trying to like Iron Man's not that good of a character. Spider-Man's like the hardest character to play. So like they try to get you
different abilities, but like the playing it's like, and Cam said this.
Dude, it's a headache. I'm too old for this shit. I feel like an old man.
Said, it feels too old for it. It's like.
Is that the whole game though? You just fight each other, or are there like objectives?
Yeah, but there's objectives. You just like capture like a bit.
Like it's a capture the flag.
It's a capture the flag game. Yeah. And then, but it's just color, and everyone's in the same location. It's just everything. Like there's so much on the screen. There's so much noise and flashing. I have no idea what's going on. I'm too old for it. I lasted about 40 minutes, and I was like, this is the worst game I've ever played. Not to the offense of the game creators. It's just like not for me. Like it's so much. It's so much.
I don't know if you his name's Emmett. I Super Ebba. I never know how to pronounce his like username. He's a like Marvel comic content creator. He's like a content creator for Marvel Rivals, though. He got like approved for that. And I was messaging about it, and he's like, I love this. And I'm like, I was getting so excited. I'm downloading it. I played it like Thursday night, and I'm not getting any sleep. So, I had to be pumped to like stay up past, 9 p.m. to play this thing. I played 3 games, and I was like,
it's just too much for me. I get it. I get why people would enjoy it, but it's just like,
I want to
too much.
I want to try to get into it because have you ever played like CS:GO or Valorant, Seth?
No, but I had friends who were really into CS:GO.
I'm a big fan of Valorant. Specifically, I like CS:GO. But I like that's more of like a search and destroy type game, George. And I like those. But I thought Marvel Rivals was going to be like that because I thought that's what it was marketed as, but it is more of an Overwatch-esque.
It's like the same, though, which I didn't enjoy anyway. So
I was never an Overwatch guy. But yeah, me trying to figure out, like, I used Spider-Man at first. I didn't realize he was like the hardest character.
I was like, oh, what a big Spider-Man. Yeah, cool.
Exactly. Yeah. But you have to be able to like grapple with webs around and like shoot people with webs and stuff. And I was thrown off. But if you're Bucky, you just get a gun. And so it's like, I just want to.
The characters look really cool. It's just like the gameplay is too much for me. I have no idea what's happening. But yeah, Marvel Rivals.
Game talk though, OG Fortnite back. I got 9th in my only game that I've played so far. I'm so back.
Did play a little bit Cam yesterday, and I have to be honest, I don't get that same feeling anymore.
No,
I don't know what it is.
Terrible.
It's kind of sad.
I got the feeling of, man, I wish it was this always, but then I also got the feeling of last night when I told them I was going to play Xbox all night. Shit, I'm tired and I'd rather go to bed. So now I'm just old, man. I'm just
old people. You're old. You've lived like 10 lives. You're like 15 years ahead of us, though.
I will say, like, when you guys, if ever, have your first kid, like, it sucks how little sleep you get. Now,
is a crazy comment, by the way.
Well, I don't know. I know Seth doesn't want kids. I didn't know about other people or whatever. If you have one, if you don't, great, whatever. But first child, like, I was livid at how little sleep I was getting. Second child feels like a breeze, man. Like, this is cakewalk for.
Didn't I text you that? I was like, don't people normally say the second child's easy? She's like, oh, do they say that? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I was terrified because like you just remember how like hard it was with the first child. And it definitely, like, now the only downfall is, like, before we could stay in bed till like noon because we weren't doing anything and the baby doesn't do anything. Now we got to get up at like 7 a.m. with Bailey, or at least I do, or Emma does. We kind of switch off. But man, it's a breeze. Like, I'm waking up at 3 a.m. like I could go run a marathon.
Is it just Sutton's better behaved, or is it just like you've been through it all before, so it's not new?
I think it's all before, because it's still every 2 hours. But I just, like, I'm prepared for the 2 hours. Before I wasn't, like, I wasn't mentally understanding what it feels like to wake up every 2 to 3 hours. She's getting there. So we'll see how long it takes her to sleep through the night. Bailey was 9 months, so I'm hoping she's a little quicker than that. We'll see though.
Nice.
Yeah. This baby talk. Thanks for the kind word.
Me, nothing this week. Busy, like George said, getting ready for kind of post-Christmas. 10th of January is kind of the main thing. So a lot of meetings this week, bunch of shit. I watched even less than George this week. I watched 3 films, which is terrible. One of them being The Holdovers, which, as Tyler mentioned, I think is our Patreon review of the week. Finally ticked that off, like, a year late or whatever. I watched a new horror film called Sleep as well, which is quite interesting. New Korean horror. That was cool. 3-star. I also watched This Is England as well, because like one of my favorite films ever, and amazing film. That's it. Oh, and I started Breaking Bad with Anna as well, because that's kind of we're going to watch Arcane. She's never seen Breaking Bad before. And it's, those feelings where you watch a show and you've watched it like a film and you just can't wait to see the person next to you's reaction to all the big singular moments. Because me and Anna have watched, like, Game of Thrones, where we know what happens and stuff, and we've rewatched it. It's not the same. Whereas Anna knows nothing about Breaking Bad. So we're like 4 episodes in, and I just can't wait for, like, the big shit to kick off. So that's exciting. Go on, Cam.
I forgot to mention, George, you were fucking right. Arcane is so
dude.
good,
Thank you, bro.
It's so good, dude.
I never
It's
endorse
insane.
TV shows on this podcast
I know,
the way I do with Arcane.
I knew you'd be right, but like, dude,
what are you up to? Well, don't spoil it because I do want Tyler
through
and Seth.
season 1. I have.
Oh, you're done with season 1.
Yeah, I've watched the first episode of season 2. What sucks also about the not sleeping is normally I get most of my TV watching time at night because like Emma goes to bed at 9 and I'll be up till at least 11. No, I'm conked out immediately. So yeah, that's been a struggle is just like watching it. But yeah, I'm through. Otherwise, I think I'd be a week off. I think otherwise I'd be through it in 2 days.
Wait, Seth. So if you said that you made a deal that if you watch Breaking Bad, you watch Arcane, like is she a fan of Arcane
let me retract on that statement slightly.
Bro,
it was meant to
Arcane.
be. No, just listen. Hold on.
Just because it's not a 1960s black and white 4-hour movie doesn't mean you can't watch it.
Hey, what you Breaking Bad? So Anna loved Arcane season 1. And
so she has seen that.
She's seen it season 1, but she wants to rewatch season 1 to, because I don't know. When did season 1 come out, George? Was it a while ago?
Of Breaking Bad?
No, Arcane.
Oh, 22? 21?
Yeah, so she wants to rewatch it before she watches season 2.
She hasn't seen season 2 yet?
No, that's why she's waiting for me so she can rewatch season 1 with me because I said I wanted to watch it.
God.
But then I was like, do you want to watch Breaking Bad? She's like, yeah, I do want to watch it. I do want to watch it.
I tweeted this, but like the watch clicking of Echo like versus Jinx, man, like right before the fight is so fucking cool, George. Like that's the coolest shit.
Thank you, man.
For me and Tyler?
Huh?
Did you just spoil an epic scene for me and Tyler?
Yeah, actually, don't look at that. Actually, I'm gonna undo send.
Don't.
I that actually is.
Did you just send the scene into the chat?
Yeah, but it's not like a spoiler.
This fucking
the scene
guy.
itself isn't a spoiler, but like just a character.
This fucking
yeah, that's it. What, dude? When he pulls out the stopwatch, it just starts, bro.
Dude,
what are we
it's
doing?
so fucking cool.
It's
man.
so
What
good.
are we doing? Do you
Saying
want
he
us to
pulls
watch
out a
it?
stopwatch.
We're not spoiling. We're not spoiling. Don't worry. We're not
That's
spoiling.
nothing.
It's so the flare scene, bro, makes me cry
Yeah.
every single time I watch
That's
it.
also incredible.
And then the
Dude,
whole
it's
final
fucking-
scene,
we are in a renaissance of like adult animation now of Creature Commandos, which is fine so far. We'll see how it gets, but Arcane and Invincible, just insane. Insane. You would not have gotten this. Couldn't make things like this 20 years ago, right? Yeah.
Fucking mad.
Couldn't make this.
can't do this in live action.
Yeah, can't do this shit in live action, Tyler.
Can't do any of this. Cannot do any of this in live action. Oh my god, it's so good. I'm happy.
This
to
is
watch
right.
it.
I might have to cut this here. We need to go on some like reviews because we've got a bunch of shit to talk
Nah,
about.
fuck reviews. We're talking about Arcane now. This whole episode is Arcane.
We spent an hour 20 minutes talking about it last week.
On your. I was like, I said to Anna, she was like, "Who's George speaking to Arcane about?" Because that's what you were telling watching. I was like, "Everyone on his own." That showed she just started laughing. It was quite.
I listened to last week's episode. George literally talks about Arcane for an hour and a half.
I didn't listen to it because I was like,
don't listen to it. It's all season 2 spoilers.
I was doing my my tweet, and so I always try to if I'm not here, I'll skim and see like what the topics are. And I was like, this is all Arcane. Did you guys do anything else? Like, was it you guys just sitting muted, quiet, off to the side the entire time?
Not even on. No, it was like George on full screen as well.
I think Seth, as soon as episode 3 ends, and it's when I got hooked, and I'm sure it's when everyone gets hooked, you'll be hooked, man. Shit's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I was hooked first. The bridge scene on the first episode, man.
Stop mentioning scenes.
I'm not giving details.
But then as soon as I see a bridge, this is the bridge scene.
You'll be like, oh shit, this is gonna be a sick scene.
I don't want to know scenes in that first season.
There's insane amount of
good show, man.
Moments.
Good show. Good show.
Right, cool. So I think we'll review Queer first, which me and Tyler have seen. George, I'm really interested when you get to watch it because, like Tyler said, and obviously
I'm not watching it.
No, but you are. It's completely different challenge. You are.
Sophie watched it, immediately texted me saying maybe you shouldn't watch that. I saw K Meeks at the theater last night. He saw Queer. First thing he said to me was maybe you shouldn't watch that. Listen.
No. You need to watch it. You need to watch it.
think you
It's
should.
so
I'm
different.
just not in the mood to keep hating on Guadagnino.
Bro,
Like,
go and watch fucking like Civil War, then you snake.
Captain America Civil War is better than every Guadagnino movie.
I think you were talking about just regular Civil War, weren't you?
Oh no, American Captain America, whatever. We'll move on to queer. We'll read that first. Obviously, Tyler watched it. Tyler, you might have to like lead this one in terms of when we walk through the because it's been like 6 weeks, I think, since I watched it. So I'll kind of follow you. In terms of synopsis for queer, obviously Luca Guadagnino's new film, second film this year. First being Challengers, which obviously we both loved. Everyone on this podcast loved, actually, if I remember correct.
Yeah, they're not here. They can't rebut.
Yeah. In the synopsis, I'll just run through it. 1950s Mexico City. William Lee, an American expert in his late 40s, leads a solitary life amidst a small American community. However, the arrival in town of Eugene Allerton, a young student, stirs William into finally establishing a meaningful connection with someone. As I just mentioned, this is Luca Guadagnino's new film. Obviously, one of the main things, cinematographer. Mukti Prom, back after a previous, Challengers, Trap, and Queer in the same year is like the best year for a cinematographer ever, by the way, just to get that out there. But yeah, I obviously watched this at BFI London Film Festival about 6 weeks ago. Tyler, you just saw it last night, so you're kind of fresh on it than me. We'll kind of do, I guess, like spoiler-free thoughts, and then we'll go on to more of the good in stuff at the end. So if you just give your like kind of spoiler-free thoughts for now, then we'll move from there.
Yeah, this is an insane movie. Absolutely not what I was expecting at all. And again, I've said it time and time again, I'm not a huge trailers guy. I'm not a huge research of film much before watching it. It is based on a Burroughs novel. I have not read the novel, knew nothing going into it really other than, Luca Guadagnino, Mukti Prom, Starkey, Craig. I didn't even know, I maybe knew Reznor and Ross were back. Didn't know it was also a Justin Kritzky's screenplay who also did Challengers.
Yeah.
So all four, the quartet of, Mukti Prom, Guadagnino, Kritzky's, and Reznor and Ross. So all five of them, just 2 movies together in the same year. And I think we had news also that Reznor and Ross are going to be scoring Guadagnino's next film and potentially the DCU film for him too. So like work together forever for all I care. Because Reznor and Ross, I guess we're just starting there. I think they're so fantastic at catering their score to being whatever it needs to be. Like how we talked about or alluded to, that Queer is just completely different feeling than Challengers. Their score is completely different too, not only in style, melodically, but also Challengers is a very score forward film. Queer, the score is still there and recognizable and is beautiful, but there's so many scenes where there's no music going on. Like it's so different than Challengers, and it works so well. But man, this movie was not at all what I was expecting, especially obviously that third act that is going to be the most divisive part. A lot of people are going to say, I listened to a ton of people's reviews on it on the way home from the theater, and it's like so many people are just like, really loved the first half, did not like the second half. And I think that's going to be very common, because it just takes a turn in the second half for sure. I'm sure people have seen like the Suspiria comparisons, and that's like obviously a comparison you would not expect when you like think of the film Queer and like what you're expecting going into it. You'd be like, Suspiria, where's that coming from? But it really does feel like a culmination of, there's bones and all in there of addiction. There's Call Me by Your Name, of the longing and loneliness. There's Suspiria for some of the bizarre visual flair and elements. And it really just feels like just a perfect culmination of everything. And you see interviews of him before this came out, and he talks about like he read this book when he was like 15 or something, and it's a very personal book to him. So it really makes sense that this film really does feel like bringing together everything he's done so far in his career. And so wild film, especially the third act, but there's so much to praise here. This is one of the most lived in films I feel like I've seen it in a long time. Like the bars in Mexico City, that street, it feels like obviously it's a real place, but that set design so good.
They shot it, I think, because when I saw it, obviously Luca, I was like this far away from Luca, by the way. I was like front row, how it is. I think he said that they shot it in Sicily and then made it look like a traditional Mexico City in that era in the 50s. And like you said, the set's just amazing.
It's insane, because I didn't look into it or anything, but I saw at the beginning of the movie, because they do like the credits before the movie starts. This is like it was like Italy casting and South America casting. So I was like, okay, where's Mexico coming to here? So I was like, I guess they probably just filmed in Italy, but this feels so real and lived in. That bar, the set design, because normally when you think of set design, you think of stuff like the Nosferatus, the Wickeds, which are spectacles within themselves for those set designs. But when you think of just like a movie about life like this, where obviously there's fantastical elements, but I'm just strictly talking about the street in Mexico City, just felt so raw and lived in. The costume design was so textured. Like they were sweaty. The clothes felt like they weren't just an actor putting on something on set for the first time. It's like that's what they wear and live in. And I love just like Daniel Craig's suits with his fedora, and Drew Starkey with his very like clean, polished, more military-esque style of fashion. Incredible stuff from the costume production design. And then Mukti Pram just goes God mode this whole movie. This visually is the most inspired and insane visuals we've seen this year, other than like Megalopolis. Like this is just, I really didn't know Luca had it in him. Like we're both obviously big Luca guys. I'm a huge Luca guy. I didn't really know like a lot of the stuff that happened in this movie. I didn't really know he had that in his bag. So very exciting to see that it is in his bag, especially with all the projects he has coming forward. I just feel like he is hitting such a stride right now, to the point to where like I feel like if I rewatch Bones and All, can guarantee it's going to go up from a 4. Challengers, obviously, I've rewatched a bunch of times and love. I just think he's just swinging and hitting so effectively right now. Daniel Craig delivers
crazy run,
insane run, and his work rate's crazy. But Daniel Craig is so good in this, and it's got to be the best he's ever been. And it's just such an inspired casting decision, because obviously you know him as this womanizer from James Bond, this confident, suave guy. And in this movie, he's a little bit of a goof. Like he's trying to he's longing for attraction and desire so much. He does these like quirky little things where he tries to, make it look like he's cool or suave, or do like a little cool little dance move or something to get someone's attention, and people are just at the bar just laugh at him like, look at this like idiot, this buffoon.
Yeah.
Like he's completely opposite of what he is in Bond. And this movie is so effective at visual storytelling, which is why I just think it is one of the pinnacle of films for the year, because there's so much said between both Starkey and Craig that without saying a single word. Craig has a lot more dialogue than Starkey, but that's another criticism I see commonly too, is like people are like, oh, Drew Starkey's bad, or he's fine, or he's whatever. But I think it's just completely opposite. He is such an elusive character that you have no clue what he's thinking, what he's feeling. And I think people are attributing that to like being a bad actor or bad writing, that he's not getting like enough body to him. But I think that's like completely intentional. So that's why, like, I know film's obviously subjective, and I'm not trying to sound like a hater or whatever, but like when people say that the third act falls off, or when they say Starkey's just a nothing character, I honestly couldn't disagree more with those criticisms. I feel like he is so effective at being so hard to read that even as the audience viewer, that's like people are saying in that review, like Starkey's character is given nothing. Like I have no attachment to him or connection to him, or I don't really know what and I'm like, yeah, it sounds like they absolutely aced what they were going for here. And I just think he's so impossible to read this entire movie, and he just does it so well. But Craig just shows all of his talents, and incredible performance. And I'll leave it there for spoiler free. Just so there's really nothing I can say. Like I said, I think the third act and Starkey are where a lot of people are going to criticize it, that I loved. But even the people who hate this film, I don't think there's any way you can hate on the costume design, production design, and visual flair this movie brings. But not the movie at all I was expecting. Walked away very impressed. Dense film. Like this, there's a lot of visual storytelling here. I think the narrative itself, there's definitely layers and stuff I'm probably missing, but I think the ultimate what it's going for like isn't the most complex, but I think the visual storytelling is so deep and hard to pick apart that it's gonna take another viewing for sure. And there's a lot to, when you leave the theater, you're just gonna be like, holy shit, I have to process what I just watched. I also see a lot of people saying like they were kind of waiting for it to end. But for me, I was kind of surprised when it did end. I was like, oh, it's over now. Like, I guess the 2.5 hours for me kind of flew by, I guess a little bit more than faster than other people, but very impressed with this. Right now it's still behind Challengers for me, but there's no chance I was ever going to top it on first watch, just because I've like watched Challengers like 5 times and love it. But this is, top 10, top 8 of the year for me right now. It's 4.5 star for me. Gonna want to watch it again. But wow. Yeah. And oh yeah, Jason Schwartzman. Insane performance. So funny. Good. Did not expect them to throw him in a fat suit for this, but just perfect, because this movie is so kind of grim and desperate and kind of depressing at times, and just heavy. And a lot of it is just so much to pick apart, digest, that it's like he just brings the perfect amount of comedic relief to this film that just like perfectly alleviates that from you. So Queer, 4.5 stars. Great movie. Don't listen.
Yeah. Just to give like a heads up, this currently lands 4th for me in the year, so I loved it. It's actually high, my favorite Luca so far, like of any of his works. Obviously, we did an episode on him when Challenges came out. We did that. Must have been.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's no one like in the game right now that kind of managed to tackle human connection and physical touch and intimacy in the same way and manner that Luca can. I think, like you said, Daniel Craig is just the most inspired casting decision. Someone who, maybe you wouldn't think of to play this role, but comes across as so warm, but also deeply sad and funny as well. Like really, really funny. And this film kind of relies so heavily on, it has its big moments and its big visual endeavors, and the whole thing's like just a fucking visual wonder, like fucking masterclass anyway. But especially in the last act, which we will go into, some of the sequences in there are especially fantastical and surreal, and obviously won't spoil it, but it has been something that people have been either turned off by or really turned on by. Might be the wrong terminology. Turned on by, but I loved it. I think that it steers in a direction that I didn't expect. I think Daniel Craig is my favorite performance of the year. I think he's wonderful. And I think that Drew Starkey is particularly kind of understated in his role. And I think he actually worked to perfection in it as well. Similar to the way you saw it. When I first watched it, going in, people were saying that Drew Starkey is very much outmatched by Daniel Craig. I think they're just different roles in the way that they communicate. And it very much relies on the gestures between the two of them. And I think you said this, the small things, it relies on the small gestures and the moments when they aren't speaking and the expressions between the two of them. It's all, again, like you said, it's a very film covered in depth, but it's also something that I think is quite straightforward in what it wants to portray with Daniel Craig's character, in the way that, it covers addiction, but it doesn't just cover, obviously we'll go into this, but then physical addictions, but also emotional addictions, subconscious addictions and unconscious addictions, and also kind of desires and healthy desires and unhealthy desires, but tackles them in a way that it uses physical things as his vehicle, but also Daniel Craig's like emotions as the vehicle as well, towards not only Drew Starkey, but just humanity and people in general, and kind of the loneliness that he has, within his life, and the connection that he longs for, in a way that this isn't really a spoiler, I guess, but the way we see him use like prostitutes on the street and stuff like that, in a way that he wants kind of that longing and wants that connection, in the way that he utilizes it, and that's kind of what falls under unhealthy desires. And then I won't say that's a kind of a spoiler, but yeah, I think that the way Luca manages to tackle it, especially within the physical sequences between the two, is truly masterful. I think the last act only extends my previous thoughts I had throughout the film, in the the whole thing is about him trying to find communion and trying to find connection, and then also trying to kind of, I guess, find himself. And I think that's what makes the final sequence of the film so startling in the way that it is hopeful, and a lot of it is rendered with sad notes and depressive notes. It definitely takes like a turn like this, just crazy. And there's one particular scene which I'm sure we'll get into that everyone was just in awe watching. Like, we were just like, what the fuck? It was in the best possible way. The way it's set out is just unbelievable. I actually would like to read some of the original material, because I think it'd be really, really cool. And the way it's set out, because he did speak about it before in the film, and they did a Q&A. But yeah, from the costumes to the sets, the whole thing is just, especially when they enter, this isn't the spoiler, I guess, but they enter the kind of the rainforest sequences, the textures, the color, the movement. It's like you said, the way they wear the clothes, the sweat. It's said the intimacy, and similar to what we've seen in Challenges and other works. I think this is, the more I think about it, the more I think it's kind of like a masterpiece in its own right. Maybe the only thing that was holding me back from that 5 point is just the fact that there's so much to take in. I'll be seeing it again on like Friday, because I think it comes out here then, and I'm very, very excited, because I think this is truly just a genius piece of work that kind of takes a lot of, I think you said this, takes a lot of great stuff from works, from ideas in his other films, and kind of culminates it into one. When you've got like, the Bones and all, Suspiria, but then also the Challenges, and it kind of just takes Call Me by Your Name, especially as well. And obviously, like we said, Muktaprohm, just the best guy working in the game right now. This year has just been very, very, the guy's just a genius. And I think as well, just another compliment I can feed this film is I think it's the best looking film of the year, just in terms of not just strictly its cinematography, but the way it's set out.
The colors are insane. The skies, the clouds.
Crazy. And I think the thing is, a lot of it's quite understated in the point where, we have these massive films like a Furiosa or like a Dune, or a number of these films where it's out there, aesthetically. We see these huge, grandiose sets, but this is very understated, especially in this first half. Before they, well, I won't say that. I guess it's hard to kind of teach around some certain bits, but yeah, I think this is it's a 4.5 right now for me. There's a Nirvana Come As You Are drop, which I fucking is like the
Insane
coolest
drop.
needle drop ever. Loved it, so good. I think this is like a near masterpiece, if not masterpiece. 4.5 right now. Could easily and probably will go to a 5 and rewatch. Easily one of my favorite films of the year. Then yeah, I mean, where do you kind of just want to like run through it and name some favorite scenes? Or
Yeah, we'll throw the spoilers tag up now and just talk about the movie itself. But yeah, just finally just how it looks. Like it makes sense the movie wasn't filmed in America, because I think if you tried to light a film like this in Hollywood, they would kill you. Like
we've seen Wicked.
Yeah, exactly. John M. Chu he'd watch this movie and be like, how did he do it? He didn't just put a big light in the back of the
behind,
scene,
like, he didn't just
shining at Starkey. Like, wow, crazy. Well, one thing I was just thinking about is just like, I did not expect this movie to be like, to get to the point where I was like scared at points. I was like, what the fuck is about to happen? Like, there's moments where I was like on that scene, like, I did not expect to be like in my seat, like, this is getting horror vibes. Like, what the fuck? Like, but I guess before we get to that, yeah, where do we want to? I don't know. I feel like most of the stuff to talk about, like, is like the back half of the film. I feel like the first half is pretty just straightforward narratively. It's you meet William Lee, who's Daniel Craig, who you kind of realize is struggling with addiction. He's also just struggling with his way in life. You find out later it's like the addiction's really bad to the point where like that's why he doesn't live in America, because like drugs are more criminalized there. So he's just trying to live somewhere where he's not going to be persecuted for being addicted to, the hardest of hard drugs, like the cocaines, the heroines in the world. But yeah, you meet him. You clearly know he's someone who's lusting and longing for connection and desire. He clearly is a broken man who's very sad and very depressed. I mean, and like just as the film goes, like it's like that's just so sad to think about. Someone is so desperate for human connection and feels like he's so incapable of it that he has to like experiment with drugs like ayahuasca to try and telepathically talk to someone or like connect with someone, because that's how much he's longing for connection. That's how elusive Drew Starkey is. He's like, this guy, we felt like we hit it off and I feel so distant from him. He feels so distant from me. I need to do something like ayahuasca, which known to be a big ayahuasca guy. And it's more commonplace. I mean, it's very much not common, but people talk about it nowadays. Whereas like obviously this is set back in more than 50 years ago. So this is back when probably like no one had ever heard of ayahuasca. It's very hush hush. But yeah, so the first half is pretty straightforward. It's like he meets Drew Starkey. He tries to court him. Like I said, he has some goofy moments in a bar where he does like a little silly dance move or tries to look all suave and sly.
It's really funny. Like Daniel Craig has this kind of cadence towards it where like the first time he approaches him and he just looks like such a dork, but it's like it's so charming as well. And Daniel Craig is like one of those, and I think this proves that Daniel Craig is not just kind of that, I get not necessarily one trick pony, because he's had comedic roles in the past, but also he can play charismatic, like in Knives Out and James Bond, obviously notably, but he can also play broken and broken but funny and charming, kind of the two polar opposite ends of a similar character in terms of characteristically. Like I think that this is like his almost like Daniel Craig's been about for ages, but breakout role in a sense of this sort of direction compared to what most people, it's not what most people see him as, which I think is the main thing,
for sure. And yeah, he clearly struggling with addiction to the point where like in both his desires, but also just actual drugs. Like you mentioned the prostitute, like he seeks out connection so much and he tries to get it don't want to say like the natural or normal way, but he tries to get it just from like going to a bar, talking to people, meeting people, getting them back to the room, or just, falling into a little romance. But, when he can't get that to happen, he'll turn to like a prostitute or go to those little, just to get his fix. And the same thing with the drugs. Obviously very addicted to hard drugs, but even like alcohol, to get the courage to talk to people, which, a lot of people can relate to. Like, you want to take a drink or a shot for you, like approach someone at a bar, but he's to the point where he's like 4 shots back to back to back. Like he needs like intense amount of liquor to just like talk to people and feel confident, to talk to someone like Starkey, who the whole movie is just impossible to read. you have no really clue what his job is. Like he's like part of the military, sounds like, and it's like, when is he working? And he says he has to go to work, but then you see him like at a bar. And what is he even doing? Like, why are they both in Mexico this whole time? We know like Daniel Craig kind of like lives there because he's, wants to live somewhere where drugs are more free, and he has his apartment. But like, why is Starkey there? Like, is he stationed there? Is he there for a long time? Because like many days, maybe weeks go by. Just you never get a read on his character by design. But then ultimately they start meeting each other. They get romantically involved in a sense to where, they're seeing each other sexually, but it's like you still never know what level of romance this actually is.
Especially from Drew Stark. He's like such a hard character to read in that he's kind of faceless in a way. Like we don't really know much about him, and neither does Daniel Craig. He's just like kind of a body. But Daniel Craig obviously wants more than that. But in return, it's a difficult one to read because Drew Stark is so just like a masked character for the first, especially for the first half.
Yeah, and I saw I was reading a bit about the novel and the author Burroughs, and apparently his parents sent him to like a conversion camp when he was in his youth for being homosexual to try and change him mentally. And I feel like you see a lot. I mean, I think that one of the first like lines of the film is like Daniel Craig's like, "Oh, what are you, queer?" Like he's always wondering, is he queer? He's deeply wondering, is Drew Starkey queer the whole movie? Asking it within his own head out loud the whole time, wondering, asking other people. Clearly, this is a man very troubled by his parents and his past, and someone who has been trained in a way to think that what he feels and what he desires is wrong and not acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, this is like it's 1950s as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I get another reason why he's not in kind of the American world, and because it's easier to find. I think it really works. Like it within the time period works so well in that, doesn't it? I think it's in a way that acceptance isn't a thing where he can be kind of open about. He has to be almost secretive about is he queer? Like kind of thinking about it like that. Whereas obviously now in the world's completely different as it should be. But yeah, it's really really interesting for sure.
And then the kind of second half, they take a flight together and go down to South America to go on some travels. And I don't know what do you think is like the reason he wants to get him to South America? Do you think it's just like going on a vacation kind of seals a romance a little longer? Do you think it's that there's people in Mexico he wants to get him away from because they're like starting to flirt with him more? Or because I can't remember if like the whole time, like 100% of the reason was simply the ayahuasca, the telepathy. I think it might have been the whole reason they went, but I don't know. I just feel like basically the whole time they're in Mexico, he sees Drew Starkey hanging out with some other people, going to parties without him. And I feel like part of it was he's just like, I just want to get him away from these other people.
Yeah,
so he can have himself.
It was the ayahuasca, yeah, obviously that's kind of the main, I guess, point of the film and the main focus. But also, I think it's in his mind, legitimizes what they have together, and instead of it being kind of this where they just have kind of a physical, I guess, passing by where they meet, engage in sexual activity and then see each other during the day, and he's speaking to a woman at a table and a guy at a bar and whatever. It's in his head to legitimize that and kind of take him away and take him out of the scenario, the scenery they're currently in, kind of exploring the world. For multiple reasons, but I think that'd be one of the main ones. Just in his head, it's legitimizing what they have and kind of making more out of it, so to speak.
Yeah, so they go to South America together to find this doctor researcher in the jungle, played by Leslie Manville, who is unrecognizable in this film. Like I most know her from like Phantom Thread. She's in Maleficent, Christmas. Maleficent. What other big things? I feel like she's been in a lot of huge films, but completely unrecognizable in this. She's a doctor researcher. So basically at the time of this, like again, Americans, like I know ayahuasca personally as just like the thing Aaron Rodgers does every off season to like find himself. And he's just a weird man who apparently, according to Shailene Woodley, is a bad man. Cause she kind of came out like yesterday or whatever saying like, yeah, he was like super toxic during our relationship and he made me hate myself.
Quick. Did we mention the bit before this as well? There's the scene I really liked. It was the scene where he's kind of basically suffering with the dealings of coming off the drugs for the first time and having the withdrawal.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
There was like there's a few moments within that part where obviously they're traveling. I can't remember where they are at this point. And Daniel Craig's off the drugs and he's kind of dealing with the withdrawal symptoms, as we've seen portrayed in media and real life many times before. And there's so many moments in this where again it kind of comes back to that. It kind of draws the line between the physical touch and the way he needs and requires Drew Starkey's support, not only physically in a way that he's freezing and he's cold and he needs the warmth when they're in bed that time, but also it kind of runs back to that emotional thing. And there's, you know, a really, really cool scene of when they're both kind of, he's like almost cuddling up to him and in a way where it kind of leans both ways. And I think that was a really, really powerful scene in the way that the context of the film. But some also, it just like, it's really sad to see his character like that again, because it's so, he almost feels hopeless to it all. And when you've got Drew Starkey, who in some of the moments when they first begin traveling, he is quite distant in a way and quite not necessarily off with him, but almost sees it as a way to get away and not sees it as like a romantic endeavor with Daniel Craig's character, you know. So I thought that was quite a good scene as well.
Yeah, and I feel like so many times with addicts in movies, especially, you know, there's a classic like going to the doctor to try and get some more for your fix. And I feel like a lot of times they do that where they like lie, like, yeah, I'm trying to get off it. Like I really need a little bit just to get me through. But I like truly believed William Lee in this. And I truly felt that he did want to quit this addiction. Like he did not want to be this addict anymore. So when he went to the doctor, I truly did believe him when he was like, yeah, I know I'm struggling. Like I'm trying to get through this, but he does get prescribed more opiates, but you feel for him because he's just struggling so bad with like the withdrawal symptoms are horrible. He's going through it in a major way, but yeah, just even more to the what?
Where were they in this scene?
So they went to like they were in South. Are you talking about
where was it in this scene with the doctor's bit?
Yeah, it's South America, but they went to like 2 different South America countries before they got to the jungle country. I can't remember which one. I don't know if they ever said.
Was it Argentina or am I making that up?
I don't know. I don't remember a country name.
Do you remember the doctor's office? Do you remember the view behind? The views were crazy.
Yes, so gorgeous,
amazing.
But yeah, even before that, I forgot to mention like the just a more Mukti Prom going God mode and Luca just with incredible genius, like the crossfades of the when they're like sitting, but then you have like him like touching his face with the.
Oh my god! In the fucking cinema.
I think the first time that happened was pretty early on in the movie, and that's when I knew. And that's like the leaning forward moment where I'm like, "Oh, we're in for this is gonna be a masterpiece of a film, right here."
I'm a sucker for like a crossfade or something, man. I love that shit. You know,
so good. But before we get to the rainforest, when was the point where they had the like nightmare sequence, basically of him in like prison, where there was like he was like turning around and seeing all these different things, and that's when I was like, "This is like scary." And then you got the point where like there's like the woman without legs like rotating around the table.
That was crazy. I can't remember when that was before or after because oh man, I wish I'd got to watch it yesterday. I'm fucked tonight. But that was when was that sequence actually?
Well, because like the sequence took place in Mexico, but I don't know if it was like a flashback later. But
I think it was before. They actually went, but I might be wrong. But I mean, there are several sequences like that in terms of nightmare sequences, and him. You know, I think he has there's a moment when Drew Starkey's there as well, and he kind of wakes up in floods of sweat and stuff like that. And I think that's part of course. But I can't exactly remember when that scene's placed. I think it was before, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, a lot to unpack with those nightmare sequences that are going to take more. But that's when I was like genuinely scared in the theater. And this is clearly just such a man who's so scarred from his past life and so messed up mentally in so many ways, and it's the nightmare sequences just further hammer that home. And then it really is like just something I did not expect at all in this movie, and they are truly insane. Like I think you're qualified to say if something's Lynchian or not, but I feel like people make that comparison all the time. But from the few Lynches I've seen, I feel like that's like one of the most astute like comparisons. I feel like I was just insane. Nightmare sequences that I feel like it just felt very Mulholland Drive, very the David Lynches I've seen, I guess.
Yeah, it's a difficult. I think like it's one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot. Not Lynchian, but like just surrealism in general.
Yeah.
And it I mean it could quantify it as Lynchian. I think there's actually some like Bergman in there, especially some of the sequences. Obviously, Lynchian is Bergman, and that's kind of anyway another conversation. But there are real moments in this and real sequences of like a very very surrealist nature. Which again is similar because like you can't really gauge that from like the trailer or the synopsis. If you just read it, man, what scene I'm on about? The scene at the end in the final act is crazy. So
I mean, there's so many though. Like I don't know.
The one that I loved was okay. We'll get to it. Carry on.
We'll get there. Let's get to the jungle first. So, I mean, not a whole lot to get through here in terms of the setup. They go to the jungle, want to get ayahuasca. Leslie Manville's there. She's this crazy doctor who's kind of secluded in the middle of the jungle.
Kind of
very great sets, like you said. Yeah, but they finally get her to agree to let them try ayahuasca. They all try it together as a quartet. It's Leslie Manville and her husband, partner, whoever it is, and then Starkey and Craig. And as you expect, they trip in a major way.
The first thing what is it? What comes out their mouth? The first thing that happens when they
I don't know what you call that. It's like a bubble gum.
Yeah,
like that's like
crazy.
A organ comes out. Their hearts come out through like a weird vomit sack.
Yeah, because they kind of and then is there anything that happens before that? This is the scene that Zeno was on about, by the way. The tangling scene, the body like transforms.
No, I can't remember anything before that, but that's one of the most insane visuals I've seen ever in my life.
So they have this obviously sequence where they take it, they're gonna throw up the hearts and whatever, and there's this visual sequence that is just wondrous. And again, it's similar to what I said earlier, where people were just in awe. The sounds that were playing, it's their bodies, their kind of see-through bodies, inside each other, like tangling with each other and really building that physical communion and touch and intimacy. And it's unlike it's unlike anything I've seen, especially in recent years, of that nature. And this is what kind of goes back to my point earlier, where Luca tackles it in such an interesting way. Like if anyone else directed that scene, I don't know if it would work, but within the context of this film and between Drew Starkey and Daniel Craig, this worked for me like tenfold, with the sound in the back and the way it was shot and just the real like beautiful abstract artistic nature of it all. Like it's not something you see. They're kind of exploring each other's bodies and like it almost looks like pizza. It's so weird. You know what I mean? They're kind of like inside each other. It looks like dough. Amazing, just truly amazing. It's like it goes on for like 10 minutes as well.
Just no clue how you even make something like that.
Powerful fucking sequence of so tender, so loving, so rich in its themes of connection, which we've had throughout the entire film, but in such a physical manner. Yeah, that was like my favorite sequence. Well, of any, like, I mean, they all were, but that's kind of the one that stands out the most to me, that really caught me off guard in the best possible way.
Yeah, it's one of the most insane visuals I've ever seen in my life. And this whole movie is about how you can connect with people and how much you can say without saying a word. And this is just the culmination of all of it. That finally Daniel Craig has been so longing for human connection, especially for Starkey, and he has no clue what's in Starkey's mind. He's begging that hopefully ayahuasca can let him get inside his mind and connect with him at a deeper level. And then you just see their two bodies come together and fuse together, and just an insane sequence that just beautifully visually portrays everything that this film is trying to culminate towards. But then after that, they kind of get out of their trip. And pretty much Leslie Manville's like, I've never seen like two people connect the way you two did as its level. She kind of mentioned that the first time you take ayahuasca, it's kind of like the portal opens. And then after that, you can really explore it at a deeper level. So she kind of says like, you guys should stay, try it again. But Starkey clearly feels like he's like done there. And it's like Daniel Craig almost feels like a kid waiting for his parents' approval, where he's like sitting in another room. He's like, well, if you say yes, I'll stay. If you say no, we'll go. And then like Starkey's like, no, we got to get back. So then Daniel Craig's like, yeah, we got to go. So they leave the jungle. Starkey walks away way faster than Craig. And then all of a sudden he's just gone beyond the trees. And that's the last time we see Drew Starkey. And that was a decision I was not expecting. And it's, again, this movie subverted my expectations so many times. And that's, and again, once the ayahuasca hits, this movie tells you to strap in, because it's not ending just because the trip ends. Because then after Starkey disappears, Daniel Craig flies to space and then flies down and lands on I was like, again, like I said earlier, I know Suspiria has some crazy moments, but I didn't know Luca was capable of what he pulled off in this film.
Especially if you think about Suspiria as well. If you've seen the original, like it makes sense that it has some great sequences, because there are some like really transformative like body horror sequences, and it's expected from the material. But then, I mean, I haven't read the material of this, maybe it is, whatever, but crazy, and so unexpected, especially the final act, which just goes completely AWOL in the best possible way, in my opinion, and in yours as well, obviously.
Yeah, because then we get the, like, I don't know exactly. He basically, so after he lands on the beach, does then it jump to the epilogue? Is the epilogue when you see like the house and he starts looking into it? Yeah, dude, what the fuck? Like I said, like the ayahuasca trip happens and the trip ends, but the whole rest of the movie is a complete trip, because then it jumps forward 2 years. Actually, no, I think maybe the house happened. I don't know when this all happens, but it jumps forward 2 years.
No, I'm pretty sure it jumps forward and then.
No, I think you're right. It does. It jumps forward, and first initially it's normal. Yeah, he's at the bar, kind of hoping to see Starkey. He doesn't, but Jason Schwartzman comes out of the bathroom. He's like, "Oh, hey man, Nice to see you.
I didn't mention it. I love Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, and then one of the funniest like moments in the movie, he's like, "You look great, man." And he's like, "Really?" Which is like really sad and like touching. He's like, "Man, you think I look great?" Like, and then he's like, "Nah." And then I was like,
"Oh yeah."
Like, so, but it's so sad because Daniel Craig's like, "No one's ever told me that." And like, he's like, "Do you actually feel like I'm like looking good?" He's like, "No." But but he comes back, and then Jason Schwartzman basically gives him the lay of the land of what happens with the Green Lanterns, which is like there's a society of like groupies that go around to these parties, and then he kind of tells them what happens with them, and that Starkey came back like 6 months ago, and then said he was going to go to South America he went with another guy or something, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm going to go see if I see Lee or whatever," but that's the last he ever heard of him, and that's kind of it for that. And then I think after that they kind of break off, and Daniel Craig goes back to that same like hotel thing that he went with the prostitute earlier in the movie. And that's when things get insane, and you get, it becomes like this like hereditary like dollhouse that he like leans down and peers inside and looks at himself. You get a crazy 360 shot.
Just the immediate look when you get the shot of his eye through the window period, and it's him walking into the room for the first time, which is obviously meant to signify that, the desires that he's having, and that shot is like crazy as shit. Mm-hmm. I really want to. I remember like when I watched it, when people like when they always like tweet one shot of like a film, I was like, oh, I need to find that, tweet that shit. But I was like, no, because that is like the one where people need to see. It's the coolest shit.
And out of context, like that'd be so insane.
Yeah, true. Like imagine posting it queer and you just got like one razor like gone to the moon, like flying, one of the body shot, one of that. And then one of the like nightmare shots as well. It'd be crazy. Like, oh, this is the film. Oh, shit.
Yeah, the trailer and like when you get like stills, like first look at a movie and you see like shots from it, like outside. All of them happen in the first like 5 minutes. It's all newspaper opening, the stuff. It's all like immediately, so you really don't see much of this film past then. But yeah, you get that crazy dollhouse sequence that's really just peering into his psyche. Drew Starkey appears, he shoots and kills him, but it's just kind of like the bookend of the movie of just he's kind of finalizing this chapter of his life and closing out these desires and closing out the trauma that's been caused and that's continue to be caused in his life, and just insane. And I can't remember, is it like he shoots him and then does a move? I can't even remember. I mean, I just saw it yesterday, but the whole final hour is just so mind blowing that I think can't remember what happens to lead to where the actual end credits hit, but I remember being left feeling like, oh, that's it, but not in a way of like, oh, that's it for the movie, but in a way I was like, oh, I didn't expect the movie to end there. But I guess once you see the epilogue, I think it was more once the epilogue hit, because that was like right after he flew down from space, like, oh shit, we're like ending the movie now, because like it just flew by for me. But
of course,
an insane movie, just with lust and repressed desires, addiction, a man who's just completely scarred and troubled by being alienated for being queer, for being addicted to drugs. It's like just addiction and queerness just both permeate this entire movie, obviously from the title. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't get a read on my theater. I had to go to the bathroom really bad. It's like right when the movie ended, I like dipped immediately. So I don't really know, because my theater wasn't packed, but there was a good amount of people in there. I don't really know what the vibe was, if they liked it or not. You were at a film festival, so I feel like people would more lean towards probably liking it more than maybe general audience. But what was the vibe in yours?
It was funny actually, because I watched with a few people. I was sat with Remy, one of our patrons, shout out Remy, and a few of us were there. I think we all liked, some of us just liked it, but like, I think at least 4 of us were like, that's the craziest, but fucking amazing. Like, we were in awe. It was so funny because I walk outside and this guy comes up to me, shout out you, by the way, if you're listening. And he's like, oh, it's, I love the podcast, whatever. Oh, nice one, man. I got a photo with him and stuff. And he was like really, really nice, having a chat about it. And I was like, oh, what do you think of the film? He's like, oh yeah, I hated it. I was like, yeah. It's like, that was the first interaction I had with someone else. Gauging wise, I don't know. Like, there were a few like murmurs that you hear after the Classic Land Film Festival thing, but I think most people probably liked it. But I also think it was like more of a, I remember coming out and hearing conversations, and for a lot of people, it was just like, that was just not what I was expecting at all. Which you wouldn't. I wish I got to see Daniel Craig though, because I think he was like ill. He was meant to come for the Q&A, but it ended up being, it was like the producers, Luca and Drew Starkey. Very good looking man, by the way.
Yeah. Unfairly good looking guy, yeah. But it was really interesting, and I think it's funny with Luca, because he, until Challenges, it was always a guy that I really liked his films, like Call Me by Your Name and Bones, and like really liked them. But it's at least 2 this year that I think are his top 2 ever, and really the top of his form.
especially with this one. So it's just one of those guys now where I'm like, yeah, I'm always gonna be, there for whatever he does next, or whatever of the 79 rumored productions he has underway.
Yeah,
that's
right
difficult because you don't know what he's gonna fucking do.
Right now it's got a 3.5 average on Letterboxd. It's gonna go down. There's no way it doesn't go down from 3.5. That's too high, especially with like my mutuals aren't that high on it. Like my friends,
what's your
friends average is 3.4, but
what's mine? Let me see. Mine's a 3.9 actually, to be fair. So someone must be dropped. Fucking Mateo
with the 1.
You fucking little bitch. I'm gonna have to unfollow.
But like Robert Daniels 2.5, Sidney Volpe 2.5.
Oh yeah, I saw something.
But yeah, I don't know. I expect it to go down. I feel like I still like missed like a lot of stuff I wanted to cover in this movie, but that's because this movie is so dense. Like I'm very excited for the looks like a movie podcast and hearing other people that are gonna break it down, because whenever a movie first comes out, like that I want to really like learn about, I always like just go on YouTube and search people's reviews. And like this early on in the game, my usual people I like to listen to haven't had reviews out yet. So I'm just like watching random people's reviews. So I have no clue who they are. And it's like, there's still value to get from that. But I like when people, our buds, I want to hear our buds talk about the movie. I want to hear them break it down. And Owen watched it like the same time as me. I like text him like, I need to see your career thoughts. And I saw I posted like a 4.5. I'm like, yeah, like there's just no way with how visually insane and inspired that movie was that Owen wasn't going to love it. I saw K-Meeks did as well. And then I think Doug said he can't watch it like next week because again, it's like slowly being rolled out. I had to drive a while to go see it, and it's
getting pretty good release near me actually. Next week on Friday, so I'm definitely gonna go because I think I want to go see it with Anna because I feel like she loved Challengers. So I feel like she'll probably get something from this. It's one of those I actually want to go to see with my mom. I might end up seeing this like a couple of times more, to be fair. I think it's one of those where a lot of people can get like some.
I want to see it again for sure, and it is definitely a movie that I do recommend everyone see, like in a theater, because those moments, the crazy moments, beg this. But even the non-crazy moments, just every frame of this movie is gorgeous.
Well, it's like it's got something for everyone in the way that it's like kind of two films in one. First half you kind of have this straight edge story about connection. There's obvious, beautifully shot and beautifully acted and beautifully written, but I guess more straightforward than other his works. And then you go into the latter half and it kind of is a completely different thing on the same values and the same thematics, but it's just portrayed in just the most fucking stupidly wonderful way. Shout out Multiprom, man. That guy's a goat. I love him. He's so good. So good. I need to watch more of his stuff, actually, I think.
Well, I texted them to come back, but it looks like George is back, which is all that really matters for now, because I think you two are going to get into a real pain.
You're me.
So,
we'll go on to 4.5 for me, 4.5 for Tyler, 5 for George, and we'll move on to a real pain. So I think obviously me and George, it's going to be a bit difficult because same as what I just had with Queer with Tyler. We both watched this like a while ago. It was like 6 weeks ago for me, but like 7 weeks ago for you or some shit like that. A real pain. Synopsis wise is obviously Jesse Eisenberg, directed film featuring Jesse Eisenberg, Kieran Culkin. That's kind of the only names that I know, to be honest. So we'll go with it. Mismatched cousins David and Benji reunite for a tour through Poland to honor their beloved grandmother. The adventure takes a turn when the pair's old tensions resurface against the backdrop of their family history. Like I said, both watched this a while ago, so excuse we missed a few things here and there. But George, thoughts?
Yeah, I wish every so often there were movies we could review like right after we watch them, but that's unfortunately not the case when you and I have the opportunity to see more early screenings in New York and London than Cam and Tyler do in Indiana and Arizona. Because I do wish I was able to like talk about this while it was fresh in my head. It's tough to review this movie because it really depends on like what style of comedy and writing you're attracted to. And if you don't like that Jesse Eisenberg, Kieran Culkin, very quick, very sarcastic coded dialogue and comedy, I don't think this movie is going to necessarily work for you. And unfortunately, I think that's where I fall. So I think I like this movie as much as I possibly could. I think it shows a lot of promise in Jesse Eisenberg's writing, but I also think it shows that he is still very elementary or very new to the writing game at the very least. But no, I think the movie's good. This isn't going to be a negative review. I do lean more positive. I think it's more of a mixed bag. I think there are so many beautiful moments of sincerity, of heart, and I'm sure we'll get to spoilers, but Jesse Eisenberg's monologue at the dinner table. As much as I didn't love this movie as a whole, I really haven't stopped thinking about that monologue the entire time. And I'm sure this is a hot take. I think Jesse Eisenberg wildly outperforms Kieran Culkin in this movie, and I don't even think it's remotely close. I think he is so much better in this movie, and I'm going to be happy when Kieran Culkin inevitably wins that supporting actor Oscar, but I'm going to be disappointed that comes at the price of Jesse Eisenberg being so wild.
Is he a favorite?
Yeah, I'd imagine he's number one right now. He's got to be number one on odds makers. I can't imagine anyone is.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize. I mean, I guess I didn't realize this film was like picking up. That kind of.
Yeah, I mean, the film is not picking up anything.
But
Kieran Culkin,
you know what I mean? Like,
Kieran Culkin is the only one that's kind of pulling in any awards potential from this movie. But again, I'm going to be very happy when he wins. I think he's good. But him winning supporting actor is coming at the price of Jesse Eisenberg being overshadowed, because I think he plays this very anxious man, very, very real. And it makes sense because he has been an actor over the last couple of months, years, decades that has been very open about his anxiety and how much that affects his day-to-day life, how much that affects his work in the film industry. And this movie just kind of feels like this massive culmination of his experiences. And because of that, that is why I think I could hold this rating higher, because whether or not I like that, over-reliance on hyper and very sarcastic comedy and writing, I can at least acknowledge that I think this is a very beautiful look at Jesse Eisenberg and like his life and his experiences with anxiety, especially working in an industry as fast-paced and maybe claustrophobic as film. This just kind of feels like everything in his head just put on paper and then put on screen. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I love the dynamic between Kieran and Jesse. Literally from the moment they meet each other not meet each other for the first time, but just reunite at the airport. I could just tell that their dynamic is going to be something I'm going to really, really like to watch unfold. And that was the case. I think they are just so similar personality wise, but so different in their mental psyche that I think it works. And when you have a movie that pulls so much inspiration from real life, and I'm sure Kieran also, took a lot of real life experiences into his performance and the way he portrayed this character. It just made for a very intimate movie, made for a very real and personal and semi-emotional. I will admit, several emotional beats I don't think hit as hard as I would have liked them to. Again, the dinner table monologue, Jesse Eisenberg scene, that's the one scene I keep coming back to. But obviously you have like Kieran Culkin's outburst on the train. You have that final moment between the two of them on the roof when they're smoking. And I think these moments are very beautiful. But I think it just comes back to Jesse Eisenberg not being that good of a writer yet, where I think a lot of these moments that should have hit harder just felt a little bit watered down. But I think he does a really good job thematically. He's toying with a lot here: familial chaos, modern relationships, tragedy, anxiety, suicide in the case of Kieran Culkin, or attempted suicide in the case of Kieran Culkin's character. And I don't think any part of this movie makes any of these things feel shallow. I do, which is a weird thing to say, because I did just say that, most of this movie can feel a little watered down. But when I say something feels shallow, I mostly think that it comes from a disingenuous place, where I'm not ever going to say that about this movie. I think Jesse Eisenberg does enough with his writing and his acting and his characters and his stories to show that regardless of how great I think his writing is, I could at least acknowledge that it's coming from a very personal and real place. And it's not just, he's not just throwing anxiety at a board and hoping it sticks with some audience members. He's making this movie legitimately, I think, for himself. And I think most of it works. I think some of it doesn't work. I would have liked him to touch on isolation, and a little bit more of like that human connection. I know him and Kieran, obviously, in this movie, they explore human connection. I think that aspect of the movie could have been done a little heavier, maybe to match what Jesse was saying with anxiety. But yeah, overall, it was more of a mixed bag. I do lean more positive. But again, there was only really that one memorable scene at the dinner table that has stuck with me. Everything else just kind of didn't necessarily land as emotionally or as impactfully as I would have liked. But 3 out of 5 for me. Like I said, I'll be clapping when Kieran has his hands on that Oscars. I think it'll be a more than deserving win. Obviously, I have supporting actors ahead of him this year. But I'm also going to be very sad when Jesse Eisenberg inevitably gets overlooked in a lot of Best Actor categories.
Yeah, I mean, I feel similar, to be honest. Like, I probably liked it a little bit more than you did, but I think there are definitely issues. I think it's a very honest, very like sentimental look at self-discovery and kind of understanding generations and where we come from. I really like the usage of like historical monuments in this, just because that's something I'm interested in. I think understanding our own cultures is something that we often deny or don't do, and I think it's obviously something really, really important to Jesse Eisenberg. Like you said, it's a very, very personal film. I love the way that they play off one another. I think you said this. They're similar, but they're also they're completely different people, but they have like similar internal struggles and things they're dealing with. Obviously, most notably, Kieran Culkin was like grandma died. Yeah, grandma died, which had really like cut him up and destroyed him. And obviously, Jesse Eisenberg having his own internal struggles as well that's often referred back to. I actually just really like Jesse Eisenberg anyway. Like, I think as an actor, I just really like him. I think he's a really great actor. And I think in terms of strictly direction in this, I think it works. Using, the historical landmarks as a backdrop for, within their personalities to also showcase self-discovery, not only emotionally and mentally, but just experiencing their generations, like George said, within the sequence on the train. And stuff that, is really hard hitting. I don't think it quite like unravels totally with the emotional strength that maybe it expects to at certain times. Like a lot of people around me when I saw it at the festival were crying, whatever. Maybe it didn't hit me with quite the same strength and veracity, but I do think it's it worked. Like it's prideful. It's a nice film to make, and I think it doesn't employ, with often films I see this, I think I said this in my review, it doesn't employ like cheap mental health tactics to get across certain bits with both characters. It's funny. I like the comedy style mostly. Not everything worked, but I think the weird like group dynamic they have with meeting the others works more than it doesn't. I especially like the group leader as well. Kind of like the dorky English guy. I can't remember, he's in something else I've seen, but I can't remember what it is now. And I like the way that they interact with each other. They're all kind of from different backgrounds, but also wanting to learn about their families, their generations, and really and truly their background into religion and into previous atrocities that took place during World War II. With the Jewish people, which I think is really, really cool and really important. So yeah, it's a film that like I also think it could have been a bit longer as well. Think about it, because it's like short, isn't it? It's like 85, 90 minutes. Something like that.
Yeah, it's 90 minutes on the dot.
Yeah, it could have been a little longer. But I think it works more than it doesn't. I definitely liked it. I just like Jesse Eisenberg a lot. I think some of the writing isn't perfect. And, it doesn't have, like I said, the emotional veracity that maybe it wants to. But I think there's enough good scenes. And I do think they're both really, really good actors. And I haven't really seen Kieran Culkin in like much at all, I feel like. I've seen him.
Oh, yeah, you've never seen Succession, right?
No, I've never seen Succession. Oh, I've seen him.
That's also the thing. He plays like the same guy, relatively similar persona type of character, just that very, fast-paced, sarcastic kind of guy. Which, like I said, that was the main downfall of this movie for me. And it takes off almost immediately. Like from the first scene when they're sitting, excuse me, when they're sitting in the lobby of the hotel, and they're all kind of introducing themselves. He's immediately like just very, aggressive, not aggressive, but he's a very anxious person. And that translates to a lot of, uncomfortable conversations where he just kind of inserts himself in places maybe where he shouldn't. And that then leads to a lot of like panicked comedy to kind of mellow out the environment, and things like that didn't necessarily work for me. Again, I really wish we'd watched this movie like sooner, just so I could remember like particular like scenes and instances. But yeah, like you said, I like Jesse a lot. He's grown on me a ton as an actor. Not that I've always disliked him. The complete opposite, actually. I've always found him to be quite intriguing as an actor, especially the projects he picks. But seeing him in like a writer's chair capacity and a directing capacity, and pulling at something as personal as a real pain, it's hard not to find at least a little bit of attraction, a little bit of emotion in it.
Have you seen his other film?
No, I haven't. The one with what's his name?
Yeah.
With
Tim
Stranger
Wolfhard
Things. Oh,
from
yeah,
Stranger
Tim
Things.
Wolfhard.
Yeah. I haven't seen
And Julianne Moore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plays like
That's
his mom or something.
Yeah. I haven't seen it.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you want to go heavy into spoilers on this one?
I mean, it kind of runs in the way that you kind of expect it to. I just like, the locational stuff, and I think that kind of works in context. But yeah, it's cool, man. Like, it's very personal. It's I think Jesse Eisenberg as a director shows promise, and the direction's actually pretty cool. There are obviously some elementary things that I think and that you think as well, but that's kind of just early on in his writing.
Honestly,
career.
As much as I've been criticizing, I'm not even criticizing his writing. I just think he has room to improve and make something a little stronger and more impactful. I think he's better in the writer's chair than he is in the director's chair, and that's not a knock on the direction of the movie. That's just, I think the film looks rather standard. There was nothing rather intriguing in its images or any shot selections. It just felt like a screenplay that he just wanted to show us, but didn't necessarily know how to translate that into a decent looking film. And I'm not saying the film looks bad, but I think when you have these movies that touch on mental health struggles like anxiety or attempted suicide, you look at other movies like The Perks of Being a Wallflower, or even just general movies about day-to-day life and familial chaos and human connection, even like Perfect Days, Wim Wenders' A Perfect Days. These are movies whose environments like kind of play to that like anxious feeling and those mental health struggles, and they kind of enhance the emotional impact of its screenplay, where I think Jesse Eisenberg just kind of lacks that. He doesn't use the environment necessarily to his advantage. Obviously, there's
not even like the historical monuments and stuff.
Yeah, I was just about to say that there's the scene where they're walking through the concentration camps, and my theater was dead silent. Like you could hear a pin drop. And I think that scene in particular was directed really well because he cuts out everything. He cuts out music. He cuts out anyone talking. This is just people walking through an insane tragedy. And I think impactfully that really worked. But I think there were moments that could have used a little bit of a better touch when it comes to his shot selections, just something that felt more meaningful as opposed to just picking up a camera and shooting two people having a conversation on a roof or in a hotel room or something like that.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's not really. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
Spoiler wise, not really. I'd like to talk about the ending, but you could go ahead and talk about whatever you wanted to.
No, that's fine. I can skip to the ending. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean the ending. Jesse's character obviously go back to his family. Like he has a wife, he has kids, which also I thought that was a pretty like. Kieran Culkin's character has nothing. He essentially has nothing. Jesse Eisenberg's character even kind of rips him for continuing to live in his mom's basement, attempting suicide once. Not rips him about that, but brings it up in a dissatisfactory way. So it's a very, I'm not saying cool, but it's a very interesting dichotomy seeing two people with similar levels of mental health struggles and similar levels of anxiety just being at completely different points in their life. One of them is still essentially, not to sound rude, a loner living with his mom in his basement doing nothing, while the other one has a really good job, a really beautiful wife, a really beautiful daughter, a lovely apartment. So I think in that sense, it's a very nice way of showing that, hey, doesn't really matter societal status, economic status, or whatever you may have in life. Both of these guys are going through the same shit mentally, regardless of one living in their mom's basement and one having that, ideal looking life on the surface.
Yeah.
So Jesse goes back. I keep saying Jesse. I need to just get their names. David and Benji, right? David goes back to his wife after the trip. David is Jesse Eisenberg's character. And Benji decides to stay. I don't know what to make of this. As I walked out of the theater, the first thing I heard was someone say he is killing himself, right? Like asking his friend. And my thought was, no, I don't think he is. I think he's found just a place where he maybe feels comfortable. He's separated from the pressures of his real life back home. He's in a location he's never been with people he's never seen. He feels like he can maybe start over or something along those lines. But I never left that theater thinking that was the end for Benji. I actually left the theater quite the opposite, thinking that this feels like the beginning for Benji. Like it feels like he just found something where he feels like he fits, and he's going to stay and he's going to hang around and he's going to kind of maybe restart his life in a new environment. But I don't know. I don't know what your take on the ending was. It was very interesting hearing someone immediately walk out of that theater, ask if he's going to kill himself, when I had the complete opposite thought.
No. I think it's a hopeful end. I think it's the whole thing is he's very interested in familial history and his background, and that's a massive thing for him. And I think when he gets there, he has that feeling of, like you said, new beginnings. There is one scene I wanted to mention. I think this is like the funniest scene in the film when
wait, when they go to their grandma's house.
No, but that is also funny.
That scene was funny as fuck.
Yeah, that was good. But the scene I found really funny is when the tour guide is like saying bye to them, and Jesse's been like nice the whole time, and Benji's just been like going off tangents, like shouting at him.
An absolute dick.
The guy just goes like, Benji just gives him like a massive hug, and he's like, "You've really like changed how I feel on my job, and if you ever want to come coffee or whatever," and then just like, "See you, David." Walks around. I was like, "Oh shit!"
And Benji ripped on this man's occupation and said he sucked at his job.
Yeah, but it's also like it's just like the honesty is sometimes the best policy, because that guy did go off like tangents, but people just didn't care. That's the thing.
Yeah, literally.
That was like a really, really funny scene. But no, I think it's a pretty hopeful thing, especially for Benji's character and just the way he's found new beginnings and he's understood his place in life and where he wants to be and what he wants to do and achieve mentally. I guess that's the most important thing. But no, I don't think it's like a negative ending by any means.
Yeah, I didn't think. I mean, listen, I'm sure Jesse Eisenberg meant to leave it a little bit more ambiguous, so I'm sure all sides of the conversation that you have about what Benji's fate kind of looks like are valid. But yeah, my takeaway was, I guess, more on like the rebirth side of things as opposed to death, where I do think he's going to use this as an opportunity to maybe start over or maybe not live in his mom's basement.
Previous Benji, that's what it is.
Exactly, it's the death of old Benji and then rebirth of what's the bird that fucking.
Oh, I know what you mean. Phoenix.
The Phoenix can rise from the ashes after dying. But yeah, overall, I think this is a really. I haven't seen his debut feature, so I have nothing comparatively to go by. So I'm gonna kind of look at this as my debut into Jesse Eisenberg's filmography. But I think this shows a lot of promise in his writing. I think this shows a lot of promise in his direction. I love that he maintains just how personal this movie is to him throughout the entire runtime. There's no moment in which I felt he was doing anything to please an audience or please a studio or anything. This really does just feel like just the brainchild of Jesse Eisenberg, and that aspect of the film I'll always love. We talk a lot about slop on this podcast. A Real Pain is certainly not it, regardless of how I feel about the movie. I can at least respect that it really is just something very personal to Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah. So 3.5 for me, 3 for you.
3 for me. Yeah. Honestly, after talking about it, I think it can go up. I just looking back on it and talking about it, I'm definitely looking at it significantly more positively than I think I was coming out of the theater. Again, I think I get so caught up in Film Fest early reactions because everyone out of New York was loving this movie. And then I saw it 2 weeks later, and I was like, you know what, it didn't really hit those expectations that I think I set for myself. But yeah, now talking about it, I think I'm a bit more positive than a 3. So I'm sure I'll bump this up to a 3.5 when I look through my final 2024 rankings.
So, do you want to get Cam back? 'Cause I think we're going to do
Yeah, I think Cam and
you guys will do Skeleton, Peloton, Showpo, and then
Cam and I would
Commando
be
of Creatures
the
or whatever it
resident
is.
slot masters.
I'm going to wait for him to actually come back so I can go.
I mean, you can go. I can start it ourselves. Honestly, I think Cam is finishing Skeleton Crew right now as we're recording, so he might
Professional.
Be 5 minutes.
Respect.
Yeah.
Bye.
But we'll start. Let's start with let's start with Skeleton Crew, and then we'll move on to Creature Commandos. I think Cam and I will likely have more to say on Creature Commandos. Skeleton. Let me just pull up the synopsis, of course, for you guys. But yeah, we'll start with Skeleton Crew because I think Cam and I will have less to say about Skeleton Crew. So Skeleton Crew, Star Wars Skeleton Crew is an American science fiction adventure television series, blah, 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 blah. Taking place at the same time as The Mandalorian series and its interconnected spin-offs after the events of the film Return of the Jedi. Skeleton Crew tells a coming-of-age story about 4 children who make a discovery on their home planet, get lost in the galaxy, and go on an adventure to come back home. The film stars Jude Law, Ravi Conyers, Ryan Kiera Armstrong, Michael Giacchino. Oh, Mike Giacchino, his son, is doing the score. I just found that out, Cam. I did not know that.
Yeah, no, I got baited into thinking it was I saw Giacchino and thought it was him.
I thought it was Michael,
no.
but it is not.
No.
I mean,
Mike
did the score for the Penguins, so he does have a promising career ahead of him. But Cam, I figured we would start with the Skeleton Crew because I figured we'll.
I heard you.
More about
I was like standing over there, and I heard Skeleton Crew come through my headphones. I was like, I'm running back.
Yeah,
running back.
Time to lock in for Star Wars slop.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, let's run it. I don't think we need to really split this up. Spoilers v non-spoilers. I think we can kind of throw the spoiler tag on now. And just as we kind of discuss our thoughts and feelings on the show, I'm sure things will come up. So official spoiler warning for the Skeleton Crew episodes 1 and 2. Episode 3 drops on Wednesday or Tuesday. Either way, we'll talk episode 3 next week, but we just got the first 2 episodes. Cam, you can take it away.
I think it's worth noting Skeleton Crew and Creature Commandos probably not going to be shows we do a full ReelTok episode on.
Yeah, so
I don't. We'll give
so.
Weekly updates, but yeah, just probably not going to be shows we do a full episode on.
I
Maybe agree. If one blows us out of the water, but even if we're doing weekly and then it blows you out of the water, and then it's like, what's the point in doing a full episode? But either way. Skeleton Crew, first 2 episodes released. I didn't watch it till last night. I'll be honest. It's
and this morning, I already outed you for finishing it 10 minutes ago.
No, yeah, that's fine. I had when I texted you, I had 15 minutes left to watch. And so I hopped on and was like, I got to watch it at some point. And then I knew we had time when the Queer and Real Pain reviews were coming on. So I was like, I'll just finish it then. It's good. It's fine. It's not of the 2 shows that I watched this week. I'd say it's in the second spot. But I enjoyed it definitely. It's not. I'm not going to say it's by any means the best live action Star Wars show. It's better. It's better than some. I don't love Ahsoka. I didn't love the show, but I think the moments in Ahsoka, like the Vader moments and those things, I care about just way, way more, you know? I think, George, you tweeted, this shit means something to me.
Dude, I was watching
me, man.
People kept asking me if I was rewatching Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, and I was like, no, I was just watching a 20-minute Darth Vader compilation on YouTube, and man, I need to send you this video, Cam. It was please do. It was the greatest YouTube Star Wars Darth Vader video I've ever seen, and I was losing my shit.
Yeah, please do, because that's the issue with. Don't get me wrong, I I think slop is my favorite thing, obviously. But I don't always need the slop, and I also want Star Wars to go away from the damn Empire and the damn Vader and the Skywalker lineage. Like I've had my slop. I will always eat it up, but I've had plenty. Let's do new stories. And Andor isn't like super far away, but I really like Andor just like being a different part of the story almost.
Yep.
And it seems like Skeleton Crew is getting something like that, right? It's right after the fall of the Empire, right? It's not super connected. It looks like we may be seeing a Jedi of sorts. We'll talk that a little later, but first episode's not as good as the second. I do think the second's a lot better. First is just setting it up. I think that's a normal thing in shows where the first episode's maybe, and I think that's why they dropped the first two, right? Because first episode's not going to pull you in. Second episode, you get a little bit more. Yeah. And I think you tweeted that as well, George. Like, I wish I didn't start this.
That was after the first episode.
Yeah.
And then after the second episode, I was like, actually, we're good. That was good.
Yeah, the second episode is pretty good. It's childish. Star Wars itself is childish, but I appreciate that this is a show for children, really. Like, this is not, they're not even trying to act like this is a mature show like they do with like Ahsoka or Mandalorian, which somewhat are, but then you also have very childish moments. So yeah. Oh, it's better than Book of Boba Fett. I completely forgot that was even a show.
Sure.
Yeah. I was trying to think of like the other.
That's not a good
Wars
starting point.
No, I was trying to think of the other Star Wars live actions, and obviously I like Mandalorian a lot. So it's not anywhere near
touching
that.
Mandalorian.
Not
it's
Andor.
It's not touching the highs of Ahsoka.
Yeah, but Book of Boba Fett. There you go. You beat that one.
Sure, you got Boba
but
Fett.
even the best episodes of Book of Boba Fett are just Mandalorian episodes, and those are really good.
Literally.
So I
forgot.
But it's fine. I'd like to get into it a little bit more, but give your thoughts first.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it. Everyone knows my thoughts. I'm gonna stop being negative towards this show. Just it's a kids show. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not here to rain on anyone's parade. I'll still be honest on whether or not I like it, and I will be honest. I didn't love the first episode. It was a little too corny and a little too childish for me. It didn't look great. It looked like John Watts trying to do knockoff Steven Spielberg, and that didn't translate very well. I know a lot of people are comparing this to the Goonies, and like that kind of vibe, and I could see it. And then I don't mind the vibe. I don't mind like this story of 4 kids losing themselves in space and trying to get back home. I really don't. I think that can make for some like fun, domeless, turn off your brain adventures. Which I'm excited for. You know how much I love Star Wars and how much I just love being back in this universe. So regardless on my thoughts, I was always gonna like continue watching this show. Thankfully, episode 2 did bring me back in. Episode 2, not directed by John Watts. I finished episode 2 and I was like, that didn't really feel like a John Watts directed.
I think he only did the first and last.
Yeah, he only did the first and last. Yeah, you're right. So episodes 2 as well as episode 3, this has, I don't know. Okay, don't look at this because I'm about to tell you, and I think it's going to blow your mind on who is directing these episodes.
I was just looking it up, but I'll stop looking.
Don't look. Episode 2 and 3 are being directed by David Lowery, who did a Ghost Story and The Green Knight.
I was going to say, like, where do I know that name from? And thank you.
Which is just insane. Okay, episode 4 is being directed by the Daniels.
Yeah, I knew they were coming in for that. I did know. I forgot what episode it was, but I knew the Daniels were coming in for an episode of Skeleton Crew.
That's crazy. Episode 6, they brought back Bryce Dallas Howard, which everyone loves.
I like Bryce Dallas Howard.
I love her Star Wars episodes. They're great. And episode 7, Lee Isaac Chung, who just did Twisters and did Minari.
Yeah, they
pulled
insane
out lineup.
They pulled out all the stops for this, and they have been doing that. And that's why I feel like Mandalorian season 3 felt weird because like they didn't really pull out all the stops for that.
Yeah,
one. I'm trying to go look up which episodes Bryce Dallas Howard has done. So she did Sanctuary. It's episode 4 of The Mandalorian, episode 11 of The Mandalorian, and then episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett, which is the Mandalorian episode. Yeah. And that one's really good. She also did the Tales of the Jedi, the Sith Lord episode, and the Tales of the Jedi is good.
Really?
Yeah. So she's done a decent amount of
It
Star Wars.
It seems like she's resident Mandalorian director. Is that giving a hint at what we're going to be seeing in episode 6?
Ooh, possibly. That'd be kind of fun. They are connecting all these.
I think the exact same time.
I think Star Wars is going into direction, right? Because they're making a Mandalorian and Grogu show. It is during the same time. We could maybe. It's worth noting. Ron Howard did Solo. So the Howard family, is just like Star Wars fan. I appreciate them. Like,
they just fuck with Star Wars, and I love Bryce Dallas Howard. I mean, who doesn't?
Cool.
But yeah, episode 2 certainly pulled me back in without a doubt. It's just, I think what it comes down to, episode 1 didn't feel like Star Wars. Like you're immediately on like some planet. It looks too clean. It looked too like modern. You know what I'm saying? Like the house just looked like a house. Like it didn't.
I think that was for
like
a reason,
Star
though.
Wars.
And you already said spoilers, so just one more time for spoilers. I think that is for a reason, though, right? Because they talk a little bit about how it's like a what is it? Not a mystery, but a fairy tale land. Like it's a rumor or something. Like this Aten planet is not known, or it's a story that's not known around the galaxy. So I think that's for a reason. It's odd when you first see it, though, for sure.
It was I don't know. I don't want to say it was like jarring. Like it didn't blow me away, but I was more just like, oh, am I watching the right show? Like I had to check if I was like actually watching Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
But once we get to episode 2, once the kids, I want to continue on episode 1 before we get to episode 2. It's very like I respect that they like try to give these kids like some sort of break free moment where this kid is obviously a big genius. What was his name? Wim, and his friend Neil. One of them is a genius, Wim, and he doesn't want to conform. He doesn't want to grow up with knowing where his destination is. Like they give you jobs, like you kind of know where you're getting into. So I do respect the show for kind of giving like that, breaking free of the mold vibe in episode 1. It's very cute. It really is. Like you have a good time. It's hard not to smile being back in the Star Wars universe. But I will say episode 2 is like what really kind of attracted me. Like you're on a ship. You're with a droid. People are calling each other captains and pirates. Like it's cool. It feels dirty. The world feels very lived in. It feels very Star Wars. You can kind of feel like that outlaw vibe that you want when you look at like these kind of removed Star Wars projects from the Star Wars saga, from the Skywalker saga. And that's what obviously pulled me in. And then, we'll get to it. I mean, we can get to it now, but the introduction of Jude Law at the end, being introduced as a Jedi.
Do you think he's a Jedi?
Or yeah.
I guess
I
think there's something else going on. I think here's my thought.
Okay.
Why is he sitting in there if he could just force the keys to him the entire time? And I'm sure this is way too highbrow level thinking for Star Wars, and they're never going to answer it.
Interesting.
Why is he sitting in there just waiting for some kids to show up just to break out if he could have broke out the entire time,
that's interesting.
What are your thoughts, I guess?
Now I'm just I wasn't even thinking that there was some funny business going on, because I think I was just so locked into this being a kids show and like they wouldn't do that.
Oh, nice, they met a Jedi, that's awesome.
I think that's Jedi. Exactly what I was thinking. I was like, oh, sick, like they have help now. I wasn't thinking that he was like maybe gonna double cross them, but I guess to your point, it's like, why didn't he break out earlier?
Well before this. If he is a Jedi and he's just sitting in there waiting to break people out, sure.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the explanation, but I think he's got some, because, not only Jedi have the Force, obviously.
Did the kids tell him about Aten? Like maybe he didn't break out because he didn't have a destination. He didn't know where to go. But now
I watched this like quite literally 20 minutes ago, and I can't remember. I can't remember them mentioning anything about Ad.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, is there something he wants from it?
Yeah, maybe they said something that like was like, okay, this is my opportunity to break. I genuinely, maybe it's just because I see Jude Law and I'm like, that's just a good dude. Like he's just a handsome man who's gonna help these kids find their home. Like,
yeah, maybe.
I wasn't even thinking that he was like perhaps gonna double cross them. But I guess that adds a layer of intrigue that I wasn't thinking about. So thank you. Maybe I'll look more fondly back on episode 2 now.
Of course. I could be completely wrong too. Like I might be overthinking the kids show, like you said. Like you might be underthinking it.
I don't. Yeah, maybe I'm. I don't know. Maybe I'm underthinking it. Maybe you're overthinking.
Question worth asking. I don't have the answer. I don't know if he's actually a Jedi or is it just like a trick of like pulling the keys. Like I don't know.
He had a string on the end of the keys.
Yeah, exactly. Like, is there some parlor tricks going on that he's trying to pretend to be a Jedi? Like remember in
You're either giving Star Wars too much credit, or I'm not giving it enough credit.
Yeah,
right
definitely. No way it's in between. No way it's in between. Like we're giving too much or not enough. But I think we're right because in Obi-Wan in Kenobi, the show, there was a person pretending to be a Jedi, right? Like he would shake the table and yes. So there's something. There's something for you.
All right.
Kenobi, also not a very good show, but has higher highs.
No, has moments though. Has
very awesome moments.
Has maybe a top 3 lightsaber battle. Maybe.
I could get behind that.
I could argue that. I could maybe argue.
I still think you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did is like the best line.
That might be. I tweeted that too.
Yeah, I know.
I tweeted that, dude. That shit hits so, and with the voice going in and out from Vader to Anakin, dude.
And it's an easy play. Don't get me wrong. It's easy. It's an easy play. But
I don't care. That is a perfect Star Wars scene in the context of Anakin and Obi-Wan's journey. That is. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker.
And it's like going in between the Darth Vader and
I did.
Yeah. So
it is incredible. Insane.
Great.
Anything else you want to bring up on Skeleton Crew?
I think when it comes to, if you call it a kid show, are the kid actors annoying as hell? Like as you're watching it as an adult, are the kids annoying as hell? No. I like these
them.
Kids.
Yeah, I like them. I think
and that's a horrible thing to say, right? Like a lot of child actors get bullied and stuff, and they shouldn't be in any way. I think it's something when you're watching children run around and scream, you're like, this
respectful
stinks.
Ways to criticize children actors.
Definitely. But I liked all the kids, especially.
I think they're all great.
Not Wim. Who's the other girl? Who's
Neil?
The main girl?
Oh,
no, Neil's fun just because he's a little elephant Star Wars character, right? Like Fern is her name. Yeah, I liked her. Fern. Like I think she's fun. Wim is fine. He's kind of getting the brunt of it. He's this adventurer. He's like the Luke Skywalker type character. The adventurer doesn't want to be there, like you said. Yep. Gets them into this trouble, and they all blame him for it, obviously. Yep. But yeah,
Carrie Condon was a funny. I didn't know.
I remembered she was in. Like she's one of those when she popped out. I was like, oh yeah, I remember she was cast in this.
Yeah.
Is she going to be in more? I'm sure she will be.
On Wikipedia, listed as a recurring star, not starring.
Yeah, I would have to think she is, but man, you can't get Carrie Condon anymore just to do a couple scenes. Yeah, right? She's gotta do something. So we'll see. I'm sure they get back to Adin.
Do they?
And I'm sure they get back to it, and there's some mystery afoot. Like, why is this planet shielded off from everything? Like, I'm sure there's something. Okay. There's got to be something more.
I'm sure. Yeah, I was more so thinking the whole. I was thinking along the lines of like I'm expecting this to be like
an adventure,
a Mandalorian type show where every episode is its own little adventure on like the greater journey. And
then they
is this a limited series or are we getting multiple? I don't know that. If it's a limited series or whatever,
it's I'd imagine 6 episodes for now. I don't think anything's been talked about season 2 or anything. So
yeah, 8 episodes.
8 episodes. My bad.
Yeah.
It's another formulaic 8 episode Disney Plus show. So we'll see how it goes. I hope the best. I always do.
I hope the best. Listen, I've been I've been saying this for a while. I've been excited for this show. I've liked everything I've seen from the marketing and the
I can't
trailers.
take any more fails. I can't.
Yeah,
take any
that
more
that
losses.
too. I can't stand like another like week on film Twitter after a failed Star Wars project. I can't do it.
This is like the second highest rated Disney Plus show, I think, on according to
is it really
Rotten Tomatoes, I think. Which, take that with a grain of salt, but it means people enjoy it a little bit. Star Wars show Rotten
Tomatoes. Yeah, 95%.
Yeah. So people enjoy it. Which
I mean, listen, if you look at this show from the lens of this is a Star Wars show made for kids, it's very tough to criticize.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Like,
and that's not like giving the freedom of it. Like,
no, that's not giving it.
I'm trying to think of another show that's made for kids that sucks. That we watch. I'm sure there are plenty. I just can't think of any right now. But like a lot of Star Wars itself is made for children. It's not made like it got. I mean, and it deals with a lot of like larger themes of like taxation, and you're like, is this really for kids? But George Lucas's original intent was for like teens and children to like feel a sense of excitement in the universe, right? So it's not for us. You can enjoy it obviously because we grew up with it, but if I told Emma to watch this show, she'd be like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah, like like my dad loves Star Wars. He will never watch an episode of this show. He watched Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, and he surprisingly actually very much liked it. But Obi-Wan and Anakin are probably my dad's two favorite fictional characters ever. So that show was never going to fail for him. I'm surprised he loved Ahsoka as much as he did. Skeleton Crew, he will never press play on. Yeah, and
it's one of those things you got to think like there's no way Star Wars is thinking they're getting a new 20 to 28-year-old demographic in with this show.
No,
they're getting the 9 to 14-year-olds who are going to go watch everything else. Like you're not getting this new demographic. So yeah, it's definitely for children, which is fine.
It is fine.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Or do you want to move over to Creature Commandos?
Nope. I don't think anything else. Shout out Star Wars.
Well, shout out Star Wars, and like Cam said, we're not gonna do a full episode on
like what we've been watching.
Yeah, we'll talk it every week in the what we've been watching portion, and we'll I'm assuming Cam and I can muster up 10 to 15 minutes per episode at least, and just kind of give our spoiler-free / spoilery thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, let's move on to Creature Commandos, the official introduction.
Exciting.
It is exciting. It really is exciting. You like James Gunn obviously did the Suicide Squad, so like he's been involved in the DC EU. But it's exciting that his iteration of the DC universe is finally kicking off. Like we have been talking about this for so long. You, Tyler, and I did that like ad hoc 10 p.m. episode like 2 years ago when James Gunn was like announced as being the director, and he announced like a full slate of things. So it's cool that it's finally here, regardless of whether or not everyone liked or disliked what they saw in the first 2 episodes. After the events of the Suicide Squad and the first season of Peacemaker, Amanda Waller assembles a Black Ops team of monsters called Creature Commandos, led by General Rick Flag. The series stars Indira Varma, Sean Gunn, Zoe Chow, I might be pronouncing that wrong. David Harbour, I did not know David Harbour was in this show. And Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr. We'll do the same thing as Skeleton Crew. We'll issue a spoiler warning for now. We'll keep it spoiler free-ish to start, but I'm sure just we'll run in tangents. But Cam, let's.
I looked at episode 12 of the ReelTok podcast is
that's when we talked about.
Sorry, Real Quick episode 12. Yeah. And,
what's the date stamp on that?
Let me go look.
That's got to be 2022, right? That's got to be early days.
How do I find the exact date? Give me a second.
That's how long we when we're done recording this ReelTok episode, we're about to record like Real Quick episode 170.
What the hell's the date? on just like YouTube?
I could not tell you.
I know I can find it on my phone. Because I know where to look on my phone.
Yeah, we've been talking
got
about
it. Sorry,
this
February
forever.
1st, 2023.
Okay, not that. I mean, that's almost 2 years at this point.
Man, just go.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
February 1st, 2023. Go check that out because like
Did I have hair?
but
Did I have long hair?
you
and a
had
short
long
beard?
hair. You're in your kitchen. We didn't
Yeah,
have
my
this
old
setup.
apartment.
We didn't have this setup where we could, right now it's just me and you on screen. So we have a picture of Seth in there just for fun. So, Tyler's in a completely like blank room. It's still like his office.
Yeah,
he's in.
that was when I think Tyler just moved into his house and he hadn't finished. Yep. Yeah, and I was in my old apartment in the kitchen because Victoria was sleeping in our room. We were in that small apartment. Wow, yeah, that was a long time ago,
man.
but
good,
we're here.
Time. We're here. We're at the DC.
We've been doing this for so long, dude. Holy shit. But all right, kick us off. First 2 episodes of Creature Commandos.
I did like a good and bad. So I'll just do that here. Good, exciting to be here. Good. James Gunn knows his formula. He's doing the Suicide Squad 2 literally opens up with, hey, remember Peacemaker and how you were outed and can't use humans for your Suicide Squad projects anymore? What if they're not humans? So that's literally what the show is, right? Is the Suicide Squad 2. It mentions that Rick Flag died about 2 years ago. So now we have Rick Flag Sr., played by Frank Grillo, kind of leading the team. It's a good start. Like I said, he knows what he wants to do. I guarantee almost every episode has one of the Creature Commandos like backstories. And that's my thought. I could be wrong. Like episode 2 is very clearly the Bride's episode. Yeah. I'm guessing we'll get that.
Yeah,
and that's how you
episode
make like
3 is called Cheers to the Tin Man.
Oh yeah. So there's the B-52 or whatever is whatever robot he is episode. That's good. I like that James Gunn clearly has the DC universe sandbox to play with. Right. He's mentioning Themyscira. Cersei is the villain who's a Themyscira, like a witch, right? So an Amazonian witch. He's got the sandbox to play with, right? He's not restricted. Like he is the runner of DC. So that's awesome. That's exciting. Rick Flag has been confirmed as Frank Grillo has confirmed to be Rick Flag Sr. in Peacemaker season 2. So like you're blending he's getting actors that want to blend animation to live action. That's exciting. I think all of those good things are happening. The first 2 episodes, again, first episode, not amazing. Second episode gets more into it. I think the animation is really cool. The fight between Rick Flag and Dr. Phosphorus looks awesome. Those are all good things. Negatively, I don't think this show is very funny at all. So I don't think I laughed once. And that stinks for a James Gunn project being like, I think the Suicide Squad's hilarious. The Guardians of the Galaxies are really funny. Peacemaker's very funny. I don't think I laughed like once during Creature Commandos, which I'm sure it'll get better. We'll see. But maybe it doesn't. But that's kind of something I was a little disappointed about. Like they have the Zac Efron joke where he's shirtless on that one girl's phone. Yeah, it didn't really make me laugh. It was kind of more like a sure. Again, I forget what his name is. I got to look it up. B-52 or whatever. Commandos. Let's see. Someone help me out here. What's this damn GI Robot? GI Robot. That makes more sense. GI Robot, like just constantly making jokes about killing Nazis. James Gunn's a bits guy, loves to do a little bit here and there. I'm sure GI Robot's thing is just always wanting to kill Nazis. Not very funny to me. I don't know. It didn't make me laugh. So that's my biggest negative. It's like I liked a lot of it. Didn't find it funny for being a comedy show. Obviously very mature. I think we'll talk about it in the future, or we'll talk about just a theory that I think a lot of people have in a second, but you can give your quick thoughts first before we get into anything like that.
Ooh, well, now I'm kind of curious on this theory because I don't know what you're
All right.
referring to. But all right, yeah, I mean, I think you and I fall pretty much exactly in line with this show. I think it's a really good introduction, and I think it sets the stage for the DCU going forward very nicely. I like that he immediately references the events of Peacemaker and the events of the Suicide Squad to kind of tell you that these things are canon in James Gunn's DC universe, whether or not they're officially a part of this universe or not. Certain events are going to be canon within this universe. And I like that. I like that it's not necessarily a hard restart. Like there are going to be those familiar beats that are going to kind of keep this world alive, that, Zack Snyder created going forward, and that James Gunn expanded on, and now James Gunn's completely taking over. So I really like that. I really like Rick Flag Sr. I said this in my TikTok review. I really like that we immediately dive into like his emotional side of losing his son. I really like that characterization of Rick Flag Sr. And I think Frank Grillo is a good voice actor. I think you could always tell when someone is stepping into the voice actor box, maybe not for the first time, but maybe just doesn't do it very frequently. Yeah. Because there are moments where I think he shines, and then there are moments where I think his line delivery just feels a little monotonous and bland, which is not necessarily it is a critique, but it's not necessarily something that like I was hanging my head over, because I think for the most part, everyone in the show is voice acting their asses off. But yeah, it's like you said, it's James Gunn's formula. He took Task Force X and just turned it into Task Force M. It's the same tone as the Suicide Squad. It's essentially the same tone as Peacemaker. He's got these awesome, beautifully detailed animated fight sequences. There's a lot of attention to detail in his side characters, and every character kind of has that emotional bit that you expect from a James Gunn project. I mean, even in fucking like the Suicide Squad, you care so much about Peacemaker and Idris Elba's character as much as you do like Ratcatcher and the Shark. Like every character just kind of feels like they warrant a certain amount of intrigue and emotion, which I really like. That's always something I thought has been a very strong suit of James Gunn in like the comic book space. Obviously, the most prominent is, everyone talks about this, is like, oh, James Gunn took a fucking talking raccoon and a tree and made them two of the most beloved characters in Marvel continuity. So he's always been good at kind of getting us to care about characters we don't necessarily want to care about. And I'm sure that'll just continue to grow and expand in the, what is this? This is 7 episodes. So in the remaining 5 episodes, loved episode 2 a lot. I agree with you. I think that is the better episode than episode 1. I love that we immediately dive into Victor Frankenstein and Eric and the bride, and we kind of get that backstory. I'm very excited to watch that unfold. I'm very excited to watch the dynamic between the princess and Rick Flag Sr. unfold. I texted you this immediately. Hilarious that Rick Flag Sr. just looks like James Gunn, and that the princess also looks like his wife. I think that's so funny. But yeah, I really enjoyed this introduction, these first 2 episodes. I'm very happy. I say this all the time. I wouldn't call this event television, but I just kind of refer to any TV show that drops episodes weekly as event television. And I love that. I love that. What?
I think it'll become that. Like as we get closer to the end of DC, like the start of the DCU, I think it will be event television. As we more episodes in. We'll see.
I agree. I think Creature Commandos has the opportunity to pull a lot of people in. I unfortunately think the animation is going to turn a lot of people off, but I think if the remaining 5 episodes can be stronger than episode 2, I think we're in for a really nice introduction to this universe.
Yeah, I'm amped. I'm amped. My theory, spoilers, whatever. So we meet Princess Alana Rostovic, who is played by Maria Bakalova. First off, I love Maria Bakalova. I think I'm like her biggest fan on this podcast and any podcast. Shout out her. Like just ever since Borat's subsequent movie film, I think like that it's not amazing. It's not as good as the first, but she is so good in that thing. She's so funny. Yeah. And then Bodies. And now she's one of James Gunn's pals because she's Cosmo the Space Dog. She was the first cast person in the DCU. Like this role was put in mind for her. Made her Bulgarian. Just made this character Bulgarian. That being said, I'm pretty sure she's Clayface. So the Maria Bakalova plays Princess Ilana Rostovic. Pretty sure that princess is Clayface.
And you get that,
huh? I just seen a lot of theories on it. Like again, I it's pretty rare. I have my own theories, I guess. I've just been going around the hemisphere of the DC universe, Twitter and YouTube and reviews and everything. And I'm pretty sure she's Clayface. Just pretending to be, I guess not pretty sure. That's the theory that I'm behind.
This is a brand new. This is like a brand new. This isn't a comic book character. This is a brand new character in like DC continuity.
Yep. So so that's why I think she's Clayface. Like she's just pretending, or that's why I agree with these theories that she's Clayface. Is she's pretending to be this
like fake princess
of this of what is it? Pokulistan.
Stupid.
I think she's Clayface. That's just an early theory. But
that's a crazy theory. That's a wild.
I know.
Is Clayface confirmed in this show?
Yeah, you've seen him. It's played by Alan Tudyk.
Yeah. You're right. I didn't even know
Alan Tudyk's playing him. I think he's a shape-shifting villain, right? Like he becomes whatever. I think it's Clayface, man. That's my big guess.
That's interesting.
So we'll see. We'll see. It's not confirmed by anything, but I'm behind that theory. I'm there on it. I'm sure there's more like people, huh?
That's a fun theory to get behind.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Right? You gotta assume if you're giving us Clayface, it's someone you're going to be introduced to someone, and then it becomes Clayface. That's my thought. Also, so I just think it's going to be someone, and it's obviously not.
Rick Flag had sex with Clayface.
Yeah, that's what it's possible, man. It's possible. Horny Clayface.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm just, I don't have much more to say. We only got the first 2 episodes where I'm interested in this world. Like you said, James Gunn nails making these characters something you care about. And I'm excited to see what he does here soon. I'm excited for the DCU. Man, how excited are you for Superman?
Yeah, I'm very excited. There's not
about that real quick.
What?
Can we just talk that real quick? Like, I don't think I am so excited.
I'm very excited. Every bit of information.
Superman.
What? Oh yeah, you do.
I don't hate Superman. I just think every iteration we've ever gotten of him is soft.
You're such a. Oh my god. I'm gonna leave this podcast ASAP. I'm. There are. I see so many negative tweets about James Gunn's Superman movie, and I couldn't care less about. I could care less actually about all of them. I'm so excited for this movie. I really am. I'm like.
I think so. That's
not the first. Is that the first movie, the live action film?
Yeah,
it is.
That's the first DC. Like he's backing the DC universe around Superman, which is what it should be.
Yeah,
like it's what it should be.
Yeah, I agree.
Just, but a lot of people, like I see Soups talking about it all the time of like a Christmas release of Superman trailer. I think it's going to come at the end of Creature Commandos. That's my guess. This is January.
Just 9th. like a trailer.
Yeah, it's going to release with the Creature Commandos finale. I think that makes more sense than just releasing it on like Christmas with like a Nosferatu.
Yeah,
you know.
Okay, I could see it. I think we get it before the new year. I think James Gunn has responded to enough threads and Twitter comments to make me think we at least get that trailer by the end of the year.
That's fair. January 9th is the last episode. I think that's close enough. That's my opinion. But could be end of the year. Man, I'm so amped.
So excited, dude. So excited. Everything about this movie is just telling me it's going to be perfect.
I don't know if you guys were listening, but we talked very quickly about like episode 12, or real quick, episode 12 is when we talked to the new DCU, and man, just like going back and looking at that video is it's like nostalgia of Tyler's room is just completely white. George and I are in different places. Just good nostalgia. Good nostalgia. We can get back to the episode now, though.
Yeah, we wrapped up. That was it.
Creature Commandos. Good.
Creature, would I like it? I'm not gonna watch it, but would I like it?
Well,
Hey,
we're gonna see Clayface soon.
Yeah. I think you should get into the DCU now before it gets too much. If you keep up with it, it doesn't become too much.
That is a good point. Cool. Have you? Wait, you spoke skeleton thingy, didn't you, as well?
Mm-hmm. Say that again. Yeah. We
Skeleton
Crew as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. A little bit of trailer, like a few trailer. Well, I don't know about you guys. I could only find one major trailer this week. Is that right? Of Snow White, which, yeah,
I didn't look, so maybe
Good for your eyes. Good for your eyes, because it looks shit. Like, really.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this trailer. I just didn't look for other trailers.
Shout out Rachel Zegler though.
Yeah,
Rachel Zegler's great.
She can do no
this
wrong.
Film looks terrible, as expected. So who cares?
Yeah.
We did have some news that, like, most notably last night, actually, and this is quite an interesting one about the new Harry Potter show. Some really interesting casting, potential casting choices. Obviously, we had the usual very annoying people online. That community with I don't have to say his name, Papa Esidu. Yeah.
Don't even
who
want
was
to try.
rumored to play Snape. I actually don't know much of him, so no idea. We also had Brett Goldstein being eyed to play Hagrid, which is I
kind of like it. It's crazy. I kind of like it.
See it. I think I'm so used to him being like a negative character, like someone who's just always pissed off. So Hagrid is just a crazy.
Yes,
he's a big brooding man. That like you're not gonna. I
think once people recognize that no matter who they cast for any of these characters, it will never be as good as the original, and it will never feel the same. Yeah, it's too. It's happening regardless. So there's no point in complaining that it's too soon. But once people accept that this show and this cast will not be as good as the original series, I think everyone will just be happier.
I think it's very hard.
Though. People are like it's just.
I think it's also very hard, or it doesn't help. We've talked this before. A lot of the Harry Potter actors have unfortunately and tragically passed away way too soon.
Yeah.
So Robbie Coltrane has passed.
Alan Rickman
has passed.
Michael Gambon.
The first
Dame
Maggie.
Both Dumbledores. Richard Harris.
Maggie. Maggie. Help me out. Maggie Smith. Dame Maggie.
I can't remember the one who played Minerva.
What's her name? Peaky Blinders. Rest in peace.
Yeah. It's bad of me. I can't remember her name. But like loads. Yeah. I mean.
And I don't think that helps.
Miss
Studs. Yeah, she just passed, right? I don't think that helps with people's perception of like who they're casting, because like these people have lived on in the memory and now like have like gone. And I just really don't think that helps. That being said, I agree with George in the sense that it's happening it's happening whether you like it or not. So I'm a proponent of like just getting behind it and seeing what they can do with it.
And also, we it's not ancient. I saw Harry Potter's in the cinema. Mm-hmm. Like it's a recent thing. Like if it was going to happen, especially with them doing the same events, and obviously each year is meant to like stretch out into a season or whatever. But they're filming in the same studios, same characters, same events. And the last one came out 13 years ago. Like that's a crazy.
That long ago though. I always feel like it's like 5 years ago.
But that's even more to the point. It feels like so recent, that you can't really escape characters. And then also, it's basically like the two names that have been mentioned for Dumbledore so far have been Mark Rylance and Mark Strong. 2 Marks, Battle of the Marks.
I would prefer Mark Strong majorly over Mark Rylance.
You don't like Mark Rylance?
Probably.
I've always kind of said that in the pod. I don't like Mark Rylance.
I like Mark Rylance, but I probably agree. I'd probably prefer.
This is for Dumbledore?
He's your bones and all king.
Oh, interesting.
I never had an issue with Mark Rylance, but I do like Mark Strong, and I think this would be
Dude, the character of
Good, a
Dumbledore
good
is
one.
even worse because not only did the original series strike gold once, they did it twice. They found the two only dudes in the history of the world that could play that character as brilliantly as they did.
So,
Yeah, I mean, if they pull off the series right, I'll be excited in the sense that use TV to the fullest extent because book readers
so
know
much more,
there are dozens of characters who are never in the movies that are like
Yeah.
pretty big parts of the movie or the books. And obviously everyone knows Goblet of Fire is like the biggest like deviation of book to screen. So I hope they tackle it from a more book perspective. Papa Sidu as Snape is an interesting casting. Obviously, like if they're just doing it just to shoehorn him in, I think that's unfair to him. But the thing is, Snape's supposed to be like an ugly dude. He's not. He's too good looking. Snape's supposed to be the guy who lost Lily Potter because the suave. What's hair? Is it Tom? Why is it Tom? James. Because the suave James Potter's cooler, better looking. Get like Papa Sadu's like a great
He's a
looking
very
man.
good
Like I would not
looking
look at him and I do not look at him and
When
think
they
of
cast George as James,
kind of like incel type guy who's like lost out on a woman and he's gonna be fawning over that the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, Snape.
Do you think they'll give him the exact same hair? I don't remember the books.
No.
Like I don't remember the books. I don't remember how like Snape was described if it was like the long straight hair. But do you think they just try to give the exact same hair? Like,
I think
No.
well, I did
Right.
see people respond to it. Like people respond to it like he doesn't even have the same hair. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
think like Harry
Potter's hair?
I think Harry's like eye color is different in the books and in the movies too. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of
Man.
it's
He's
not
the
even
one
like
that
the
kills
movies were
himself
like
in Men.
accurate.
I feel
I-
sorry for the
I've
child
seen-
that's going to be cast as Harry Potter. Like that is
that kid's gonna be demolished.
That
yeah,
kid's
it's
toast.
going to be like
I think
uh,
I think
If
they
I were
have
a
potential.
parent, I would never let my kid star in this.
32,000 people
Yeah, I
auditioned for
saw
the
that.
3 roles. That's crazy.
That's insane.
32,000 people. They watched them all. I don't
Well,
believe.
they pushed
I
it
don't
back
believe
a
you
whole
for a
year. They
second.
pushed back filming a whole year again, and I feel
Fair.
like they're really focused on trying to get it right.
I
I'm so
think
happy. I'm happy the series coming out now and not 10 years ago because I feel like Gaten Matarazzo would have been like first in line to be like Ron Weasley.
Yeah.
Like Ron would be like, oh, they'd be like, this kid's the perfect Ron. Put him in a red hair wig. Let's get Gaten Matarazzo.
Stranger Things guys.
And even Finn Wolfhard as
Millie
Harry
would have
Potter
been
makes me shudder
Hermione.
to think about.
Imagine Finn Wolfhard as Harry Potter. That would've been
Oh, that's
crazy.
terrifying. Thank
Millie
God.
Bobby
Stop,
Brown's
stop.
Hermione.
Thank
Oh,
God
man.
Stranger Things locked him up.
Yeah, don't even put that
That's
into
so funny.
existence.
David
But
Harbour as Hagrid. You could just get the whole cast in there.
Yeah.
McGonagall being Winona Ryder. 11 being Voldemort.
But yeah, this is I don't know, man. It's just for me, it's too soon. It's just it's going to be a tough. However way they handle this is going to be tough. Like
It's hard because it's going to not live up to expectations. J.K. Rowling sucks, but I'm sorry. I'm watching the show. There's no way.
for
I'm
sure.
watching
Yeah,
the show,
absolutely. It's just going to feel so weird.
I think loving the movie series as much as I do is actually like helping this show out because it's like even if the show sucks, it's not going to ruin Harry Potter lore for me. Like I can still fall back on the movies that I absolutely adore. Like I know if the show sucks, at least it was done correctly somewhere once, and I can
think it
always
could make
watch
it-
those movies.
it could make it better or worse. The fact that we all here like Harry Potter.
Mhm.
I think that's the thing.
Yeah,
Think about Fantastic Beasts, though. They all sucked, but that
I haven't
doesn't
seen it.
impact
Just
anything
forget
about
about
me.
it. Doesn't impact
I can
anything.
rewatch.
But
Harry
that's
Potter
not the
Potter.
same. It's not the exact same story.
Right,
The
you're
exact
right,
same
you're right.
characters, is it?
I think
Yeah.
I think
Same
this
thing.
is another. This is like the exact same thing as the Percy Jackson show. Percy Jackson movies never got fully told. I worry the most about this just not being good and not getting a season. Well, say they get 2 seasons, not getting a 3, not
Same
getting a
renewed,
4,
yeah.
5, 6, and then all of a sudden you just have these 2 random seasons of a Harry Potter show that
The
never
Harry Potter.
finishes, and
that
it's
would be
like, why is this even out there? But like Percy Jackson's kind of the opposite in the sense that like the movies are just kind of there. Like you never
Who the
get.
fuck cares about the films? Though? I've never heard someone say that.
I liked him as a
Hey,
kid.
people like Logan Lerman, man.
yeah, people.
love those-
Yeah,
love
Logan
Lerman.
Lerman
Yeah,
is
people
interesting,
love
yeah.
Logan
Good looking
Lerman.
chap.
But I mean, like
Um,
Harry Potter's like
I think
Harry-
Percy Jackson could be that though. It could have been.
books wise for sure. But I mean, like
Could
in
have
terms
been
of the material, film wise, what
Yep.
Harry Potter is, and that's.
I think this show is also setting itself up for failure because I don't think you could recreate the magic of Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. And I certainly don't think you could recreate what Alfonso Cuarón did in Prisoner of Azkaban. Like,
I think you can recreate more magic use. I don't
Not in
know.
TV. Not in TV. I don't think so. In TV
I
always makes things look worse. I think TV
No,
always looks
maybe.
worse.
yeah, but
than
this is I trust
It's
Max
at least
with my life.
HBO. The people behind
Yeah.
Game of Thrones,
True,
those
but-
are the people behind.
But
Yeah.
TV does always look
I
worse.
trust
than
Max
film.
with my life. I'm
For
just
sure.
saying, like, I don't think Sorcerer's
It's not
Stone.
Netflix at the very
It's
least.
not Netflix and it's
or
not
Disney
Prime.
Plus.
I don't think Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets are the best Harry Potter movies, but I think they nail the tone of the books probably
Yeah, they
better
do,
than
they do.
every
They are
other
such a
movie.
like as a previous Harry Potter denier, in my opinion of it. They are such a breath of fresh air, like entering that wizarding
Yeah.
world of like the joy and applause of the wizarding world. You know,
Simply nothing
it's
will
a great
touch the first scene when they're on the rowboats and you get that first shot of Hogwarts.
Mhm.
John Williams score going fucking crazy.
Oh,
Like,
they're all
you are-
walking.
you
the
are just
sorting
not-
hat sequence.
I might
Yeah,
watch it again.
you're not recreating the first conversation
Yeah.
between Draco and Harry on the steps of
where they
Hogwarts. Like,
introduce each other.
you're just not.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm
not
firing
gonna
up
be,
Sorcerer's Stone tonight. That's
I
yeah,
might watch
this is
it.
Yeah.
crazy. This-
Yeah, like it's just I think the show could be good. It's not gonna capture that magic of Sorcerer's Stone, dude.
Yeah.
No,
I think
it's-
yeah.
Cam, by the way, I had I think my best bait tweet ready to go last night, but I decided not to send it.
What was
Af-
it?
After watching Interstellar, the tweet was Hans Zimmer could have done Star Wars, but John Williams could never pull off Interstellar.
Would have been great, man. Would have been a great tweet. Would have been a great tweet.
But
Speaking
even
of,
even
are
I
they
even
just
I don't
reusing
believe
the score?
that.
Are they just using
Okay.
the score?
Wasn't
I
that
mean,
No,
they
they
haven't
need to.
said
They
yes or
they
no.
need
Oh.
a new one. They need to do a
They've
new one.
already used it in the like.
I mean, they're already looking to cast Dumbledore like 40 years younger than they did before, so they're not going to sign on a guy who's 95 years old to score this, and then.
I'm not saying
No,
get
they
John
can
Williams.
use like the
I think
the,
they
the
But you're saying
blueprint.
the
that
same
way.
use
melodic
the base.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do you think they use the base like Wizarding World
No,
score, and then
I
obviously have
You
different
don't
ones?
think? I thought they would.
I think they do.
I
They've
don't know.
already
They did it with
used
House of the
as, like,
Dragon, so maybe
I think they do.
Yeah, but that's like
it's a little
I think
different.
they do.
it's a little different. I don't know. I don't think you could take that score that was so iconic to those movies and just throw it on a TV show that
But they
essentially has-
will. Like, I just think
it has
they
nothing
will.
to do with the
so.
movies. It's not like it's like a spin-off or something. Like
But
it's
it
like
does in our
continue-
heads, you know what I mean? When you think of Harry Potter, you
Yeah.
think about it, they'll be like, "Oh, let's just." use
I
the
I
same-
think as much as I love the Harry Potter theme, I think it would annoy me if they just reused and recycled that score. I would
think
like
they
them to. I would rather them fail and try to make a new score than succeed and have the existing score. Like I want
I
this
mean,
to feel
they'll
like
lose in most people's eyes. Like anyway, whatever they choose, that's the difficulty with the show. Like this.
yeah. Most people are already turned off to this show at this point. Just throw darts at a really small wall and hope something sticks.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
One real quick point. I think when I was talking to Percy Jackson, at least that show was remaking kind of shit movies. Like this is remaking
Yeah.
very good and beloved movies. So you're already fighting an uphill battle.
This
but
is recreating
whatever.
the most consistent franchise out there, besides like Evil Dead.
or Star Wars.
All right.
Actually, true. To be fair,
Yeah.
But
Hell
you're
yeah,
actually
Sam.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
one more thing I just wanted to touch on because he's kind of more, some, I guess, I have an opinion on. Viggo Mortensen has been asked to return as Aragorn for the new Hunt for Gollum film. I tweeted about this. I think it's a very difficult one because me being such a Lord of the Rings fan, I obviously am okay with it, but also I think it's kind of stupid in a way that it's that whole franchise-ification, MCU-ification, and bringing back previous acts. And
Slopification.
it
Seth,
is the
let me-
slop. Well, the
let me-
Hobbit was the start of the slopification in the Middle
Seth,
Earth.
let me tell you something. Once you just accept that all of this is going to happen,
Except it's
you're
all
you're going to be so much happy. Once you accept that slop, you know how Thanos is inevitable, dude. Slop is also inevitable.
I
all right?
know. I
And you
know.
will
I
be
agree. It's
so much happier when you just accept that. you
I
know?
would, when the Hobbit came out, I accepted that slopification is going to happen in Middle Earth. I get it, but it's like Viggo Mortensen is 65 now, so they're going to have to do something like de-aging shit, which I don't not a fan of. Because this takes place, I think, around the same time as the Fellowship of the Ring, if not just before, like between some of the events. So Viggo Mortensen was like early 40s then. It's going to be a bit difficult. And it's also like, I don't know. But then also you win if you like, it's, you cast someone else as Aragorn. People are going to be like, what the fuck? Get Viggo back.
You can't recast.
You can't win in this scenario.
Damn.
But,
Seth, have we talked about War of the Rohirrim on here yet?
No, I'm really excited.
That's next week's episode.
Yeah, that's next. Oh, that is next week. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about it then.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that actually. But I mean, I'm happy we're getting Lord of the Rings stuff. But you guys probably saw the tweet the other day where people, there's ideas to plan for another epic trilogy. Hoping that's other material because there's a lot of other material in Middle Earth that they can touch on. If it's the Lord of the Rings again, I will kill myself. You heard it here first.
Can't spell Middle Earth without mid, Seth. Am I right?
Great. Exactly that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see because it seems to be getting like news, a lot of news surrounding it recently. So we'll see what kind of comes out of that. And then finally, got a bunch of clips from Mufasa. Barry Jenkins
said he doesn't like.
Yeah, his check cleared. He's allowed to
style of filmmaking.
freely.
Good for you, man. Get your bag. This film looks shit.
Yeah.
Cam will give it a 4 stars.
Wait, did he say he didn't like the movie or he didn't like the?
No,
he didn't like the way of making
Okay, that's right.
technology. And
like the big reaction when this was announced, like it's like holy shit, the Moonlight guy is directing.
Yeah.
This could be amazing, and he's
But
like,
it's like no,
yeah,
he
I
just
didn't like
wanted
this.
a bag.
Didn't like this experience.
It looks like I don't know if you guys saw the clips that came out, but it looks awful. Like the visuals look terrible. Look terrible. Go on, Cam. I can see it.
Why does God keep giving me his hardest battles? It's just defending Lion
It's
King.
literally just Lion King.
But yeah, anything else on that, or are we kind of covered for Lion? When does that come out? Is it
Next 2 weeks.
So next week's episode will be Lord of the Rings and Kraven the Hunter, and then the week after that will be
how long?
all the
Christmas Day, isn't it?
Yo, let me say something real quick. That Kraven the Hunter trailer in IMAX kind of goes.
Dude, I've
Don't
been
get
Kraven the whole
yourself
time.
into this,
This
man.
is a Kraven household.
I was
I'm
Kraven out
I'm
for a
Kraven
while,
out.
but I think I'm
Kraven
Kraven now.
I'm
Riley's
Kraven
probably the
totally,
biggest
but
Sonyverse
don't let yourself
fan.
get trapped in my world. Don't
I
I'm
love
Kraven
the
out.
Sonyverse fan.
Don't get trapped in the world of Sony slop.
Yeah, I was Venom in which I think
I'm still Venom in, but I still haven't seen the third one. I probably should.
I was. I'm trying
Made me
to
cry.
think. I can't even. Morbin. I was Morbin.
Morbin. You were Morbin. You were
I was
Morbin.
Morbin.
But yeah, that's
Back
kind of
with
it for this episode. We have two, obviously, on the Patreon review this week, as we already mentioned a couple times in the podcast, for patrons. And remember, 20% off if you use the code, what is it, Santa, 20% off. Join the Patreon, we will be reviewing The Holdovers. So we're reviewing that'll come out on Friday on Patreon, the Patreon exclusive. And on Thursday, we'll also be doing a real quick draft of the most miscast roles in movie history. That should be fun as well. Once again, shout out to our executive producer, Stefan Johnson. Shout out to all the support recently. Most importantly, shout out to everyone who has been tagging us in your Spotify Wrapped. Very humbling, very nice, very great to see. We all chat about it. Brings a tear to our eyes. Other than that, thanks everyone for listening /watching, and we will see you all next week.